This show is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find the other great shows on the network, head over to the deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Bev's Video Kingdom is intended for a mature audience. Listener discretion is advised.
His friends showed him a podcast to try to make him laugh. His mood improved instantly, his tears now in the past. With drafts and talks of movies, interviews, and penis jokes. There's something about Bevy Kingdom of Video. Bevy. There's just something about Bevy.
Fuck yeah, folks.
That's just magical, friends. And hey, BVK, how you all doing out there? We are joined together by Scotch Beck's beautiful, sultry voice.
God, Scott, if only you were talented, dude.
I know.
Jesus Christ.
There's just something about Bevy that just brings it out of me.
And there's definitely something about Bevy, folks, because we've reached a little milestone here. And, you know, numbers are just numbers. But when that double digits turns to triple digits,
it's like a threesome of numbers.
There's now, we added an extra one to the party. And now things are about to start getting weird. And I think they should. So we are at the 100th episode, folks. BVK 100. This is a little celebration.
Woo!
We're in the fucking cantina.
Yeah,
I didn't know we were doing that.
We all look at Scotch and like, all right, applaud us, buddy. Party of one.
I mean, shit, I thought it was an occasion or something.
We're in fucking Scotchler's Cantina. We've got like some amazing decorations that some of the wives came and put all over the cantina.
They got sneaky on you too, and
I know.
I had to keep secrets from you again.
You son of a bitch.
I just can't help but think like how easy. Like I talked to her several times, and she just like super easily lied to me about where she was and what she was doing. So
no.
I'm a little concerned about how easily that shit rolled off her tongue.
I noticed it.
She was at another man's house.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like,
Up
what
to
are you
no
doing?
good.
She's like, oh, I'm at the grocery store, blah, 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 all this bullshit. She was freaking hanging out with Scott, putting up balloons.
Yeah, I felt awkward. Gotta be honest.
Oh,
God
boy.
damn.
Well, folks, it is the 100th episode. And, you know, 100th episode, we felt we had to go a little bit big. We had to do it up a little bit, you know, have some fun with this.
After all the shit we did for the 69th episode, we figured we got to go big for 100, right?
That is true. We pretty much had to. And so, you know, we're going to have a few surprises, or maybe just a surprise. I'm not the host tonight.
Who's the fucking host?
Why are you talking so much? Who's the host?
I thought I was the host, but then all of a sudden, some guy came crawling out of the orchard.
Welcome
Super
back
dirty.
Who the fuck is that?
to Bev's Video Kingdom.
There it is.
Right.
You thought you'd gotten rid of me.
Dude, you're
get
all
rid of me.
disheveled and like your clothes are like all kind of torn off and stuff. Like I was like, you came crawling out of the orchard. I was like, what are you doing?
So you know how in Shawshank, Andy has to crawl out of Shawshank prison through a quarter mile of shit.
I was gonna say, is that why you had all that shit on you?
Well, my hit was inside of Shawshank prison, so I crawled through.
You went in
yards of
and
shit
then you had to go out.
and
Wow.
out. Yeah,
Damn
so
it.
Do you like
Damn.
Sean
I
Connery?
apologize for
Like
the
the
smell.
burger, bro.
like the Rock.
I didn't have it.
Hit a break in.
It wasn't raining, so I didn't have a chance to clean off. It's just, you guys are gonna have to live with that shit.
The one day in like the past 60 days
Yeah,
that
the
it's
last
not
5
raining.
minutes that it hasn't been raining. That's
I
awesome.
shivved Boggs and got out.
Dude, I'm so happy to hear your fucking deep throat.
Yeah.
Is that what you say? How you say it?
That's how you say
I think
it.
that's what it
Your
is.
deep throat
A
baritone.
lot of times people will be like, you have a really deep throat. Thank you.
I really enjoy your deep throat. I think that's on a bunch of our reviews. We really
is.
like the guy with the deep
The
throat.
guy with the deep throat really kills it.
The vocal cords are just so far back, you know.
A lot of room for activities.
Anyway, yeah, so
High crack and deep throat.
oh, wait a minute.
Whoa!
What was that?
Oh my God. I couldn't hold back any longer.
Look what I dragged with me. So I got into Shawshank, and we hadn't seen. So it's been months, and I'm like, you know, all of a sudden I'm looking around, and in a one bunk palace by himself, Nikki
We
sitting
found a little Nikki. What
And,
is up, dude?
And ankle bracelets and wrist bracelets.
just shuffling.
I'm like Cyrus the Virus. Just sitting over there.
shuffling along. So Nikki coming out of retirement
Hey,
for the 100th.
fellas.
What's up?
Damn, it's been a long time.
It's been forever.
good to see you guys.
I
Surrounded
forgot-
by balloons.
I forgot how beautiful you are. Now that you're sitting next to me, I'm holding up this into the table with fucking. I'm glad you're here.
The
Dude.
legs aren't even down.
No.
It's just on one side.
This is a fucking.
This is a 5-legged table tonight. We're excited to be here. No, love you guys. Missed you guys.
Oh man, we missed you.
Congratulations to 100 episodes.
Hey, you were a part of it. So
Congratulations
Hell
to
yeah.
you. I know there's a lot of listeners out there that when Nick was like quietly had stepped away, they were like, "We really miss Nick"
Yeah.
on the socials.
They were
we
they
had
were,
heard
they were
that.
upset. There was an uproar. It was sad. It was really
It
sad.
probably didn't help that I kept responding to those messages by saying that he had died.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, no, he's dead. He was really kind of gnarly, actually.
Terrible case of syphilis that went
Sif, bad
undiagnosed.
Sif.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know,
He
that's
slowly
true.
lost his
Didn't know
mind.
you could die from an STI, but it turns out you can.
Hey, that's good content, and I was that created good content every episode. I'm here.
All right, so that would be. I'm Nate. In case you hadn't, you probably don't even remember. I'm Nate. Welcome.
I'm
Welcome,
Scotch.
everyone.
Hi.
I'm Zach.
I'm Nick.
And this is Brad.
This is Bev's Video Kingdom, and we are at the 100th episode, as Brad said. And for the 100th, in case you hadn't guessed, we are doing something about Mary.
Fuck.
We've been holding on. We've been holding this one in our pocket, ready to load it up in the chamber for a while.
Oh, I thought you were going to say this one's been hanging on my ear for a while.
God damn, I missed you. Those are the lines we missed, buddy. Oh, gosh.
If only I could get it up in Brad's hair and make those braids stand up.
We still got time, man. It's gonna be a long episode.
So we're doing something about Mary. Can you imagine Brad looking like Pippi Longstocking in there? Just
I'll be like, dude, is that mustache wax?
just stiff, Raleigh fingers, just all twisted up.
Brad just grabs it.
Oh, I for sure would.
I'm out of mustache mousse.
Yeah, we need to get this curl going.
Dude.
So we're doing something about Mary for the 100th. And in case you don't know the movie, where have you been? But also 1998, Ben Stiller, Cameron Diaz, Matt Dillon, among others.
So first I want to say, Scott, the intro song.
Oh my god.
So sick.
Thank
When you laid that
Unbelievable.
out that you were going to do that, I was like, this is the best fucking idea ever. So I'm very, very excited about that.
And there might be more.
Yeah.
Hard to say.
You
Hard
know,
to say.
there's a little bit of a theme, maybe. We'll see what happens. I just, that idea popped in my head. Thought I could pull it off, and I was pretty happy with what I came up with.
When do you
Fucking
not
pulled it
pull
off.
it
Yeah,
bro?
exactly.
And I don't want to undersell here. So we walk, Zach and I walk in tonight, and Brad, although before us, and we walk in and the cantina is literally, it looks like somebody's 100th birthday party, except all the birthday on the signs is scratched out, and it said episode. Happy episode.
Happy 100th episode.
So it's amazing in here, right? It, looks like a couple of awesome wives.
There's all these
decorated.
balloons on the ceiling, and they've got like perfect little cum ribbons hanging off of them,
That is
hanging
what
down
they
into
are.
our faces.
Well, that's the theme. That's part
yeah,
of the theme.
I
yeah.
fuck it. It's
Early.
beautiful. It really is.
So something about Mary from 98, it had a $23 million budget. It grossed around 170 million domestic. Am I right
That's
about that?
that's
That's
domestic,
domestic.
because worldwide is 369.
369 worldwide.
That's a perfect number for it.
And-
369.
And if you think about like,
It's actually 369.9, and I bet they didn't round it up on purpose.
That's just the other person on the back of the 69. 69.9
don't
is a
sell
special
another
position.
ticket.
Yeah.
and it's kind of unique in the sense that, there obviously were R-rated comedies before this.
right.
But and some really big ones, right? Maybe most notably, The Hangover is sort of this like, highest grossing. About 10 years later, highest grossing.
I was going to say that's
R-rated
way after
comedy.
though, right? Yeah.
But I want to say, like, for me, I think of Something About Mary as a little bit of a sea change, right? Because before that, the R-rated comedies that come are a little more like straight up kind of raunch comedies, right? Like I think of stuff like Porky.
Yeah, go back to the 80s for sure.
Revenge of the Nerds, right? There's some like raw movies that are really funny and they're really they really like go all out, but they're not really pitched, I think, at like a general audience. And eventually when we talk about The Hangover, right, at least the executive producer who I've heard talk about this says that like the reason it was so high grossing is because it's pitched at both men and women. Like it's like a good date movie, it's a good group movie, and I feel like this one has a little bit of that, right? I mean, it's kind of a romantic comedy, but it's also kind of silly.
It's 1,000% a romantic comedy. It's exactly a romantic comedy.
Yeah.
It's got all the romantic comedy elements with a bunch of raunchy, like turned up to 11 dirty shit.
And you think about like, 40-Year-Old Virgin comes later, right? And it has the same basic formula, right? All the way down to the silly song at the end, right, that they do. So, I mean, for me, I think Something About Mary is not just a funny movie, not just one that's sort of memorable, but it like marks in some ways a real change in the way that like R-rated comedies are done for a while, right? I mean, I think we might be kind of at the end of that era, but it lasted a good 20 years. So what do you guys think? What's I mean, Brad, where are you at?
So this is one I remember seeing in the theater and just being like, this might be one of the best movies of all time. It's like, it was so right in my wheelhouse. 98, I'm 19 years old. It's just the right style of humor. I had kind of grown up on some of those 80s raunch comedies. And so it's just, there had been a lull though. There had not been anything for a while. And then of course the previous movies, Dumb and Dumber and Kingpin, coming from the Farrelly brothers, it was like one of those things that you just expect. They've hit two pretty hard two great home runs. And then all of a sudden you're like, what are they gonna do for this third one? And you almost expect a letdown. And then it was actually beyond like what you expected. Right. It was like just even better because it was like a more hashed out movie. It wasn't just kind of silly and dumb. There was actually a plot that you kind of like wanted to follow along, and there was some like misdirection and things. And it made it a lot more fun. It was just like, damn, these guys are going to be making these types of movies forever. And of course, we'll have to talk about and they did talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, so I remember, I mean, this is one that, so I don't remember a lot of times when I first saw a movie. Like my memory is, it's going to shit. At the
You're old, dude. You're old.
I'm old. And I was younger than Brad, I'm younger than Brad, so that says a lot about how old Brad is. But I saw it at the old Turlock Cinema.
God, oh, wow.
Dude. I saw some
pre-stadium seating, the flat theater.
That undersells that. It wasn't just pre-stadium seating. That place was like you walk through and just like your shoes stuck to the floor.
You're on a downhill, actually going the other way.
Yeah, You looked up at the screen. Yeah.
If you were in the back, you were not seeing the screen.
But yeah, went with some family members, and I don't think I had seen Dumb and Dumber or Kingpin before I saw There's Something About Mary. Whatever it was age or, we were sophomores.
I was going to say we were like 15.
And it was like, how could it not be the most like primetime wheelhouse movie for, a 15, 16-year-old? And it just blew me away. And I had never laughed that hard when I had seen, seeing a movie, a comedy ever. And I don't know if I've laughed as hard in a movie theater since then. There's been some close ones. But like I said, I can't think of it off the top of my head because I don't have a memory anymore. But yeah, it's just so much fun. And it had been a long time since I had rewatched it. And I don't know if it's my age, but loving Keith David in this movie, 100%. Dude, he just killed me in the beginning. Keith David is the stepdad.
Oh God, he's so great,
funny, dude.
Oh
yeah, I actually stepping on my shag a little bit there, but that's fine. I had a backup just in case.
I have backups, and I had Keith.
He's so fun. He's so good. His reactions. I've seen this movie, I don't know how many dozens of times, and I watched it again last night, and I was just laughing at him. His delivery is so perfect. You got to see this.
Yeah, I know. That was the line I was going to repeat. Like, it's just perfect.
It's so good.
The way that he just sits down on the toilet seat like a doctor, like he's going to do some.
His glasses.
Let me get a look at that. Oh,
so great.
All right. So I had the same reaction as Nick. We're the same age, and I remember seeing this movie in the theater, and I just remember walking.
Now, did you guys have to sneak in, or did you guys go with an adult, or what you guys do?
I went with.
I don't think the R-rated you were good. I mean, they weren't really hammering.
I don't think the security was super crazy at the shitty little theater behind the Taco Bell.
I'll legit say that I was always nervous. Like when I was under like 17, like I was like, dude, I don't know if we should do that. We shouldn't try to buy the tickets.
Rule follower.
They're gonna say no.
I definitely wasn't at the time where I was going to the movie by myself. So I definitely went, I mean, awkwardly as I can think about it now, I didn't think about it at the time, but like probably went with my parents or something along those lines, which is funny to think about now.
That's a good one to watch.
Right. Yeah. So I remember watching 40-Year-Old Virgin with my parents too. And again, fucking awkward as shit. But, so I remember going to the theater and I remember walking out of the theater and thinking, I'll preface all of it by saying that I loved Dumb and Dumber. It was like my favorite movie and I saw it in the theater several times, and I wasn't in like the stage of movie fandom where I would like know who the director is or have any idea that the same director was involved in Something About Mary. Like that was over my head. I had no idea. But I remember walking out of Something About Mary and being like, that is A, the funniest movie that I've ever seen, and B, I think I'm in love with Cameron Diaz because she might be the most beautiful girl I've ever seen. And I just remember thinking like, yep, those are two solid thoughts about that movie. I definitely want to watch it again and again and again. And I remember watching it again.
What do you always? It's the pixie dream girl.
She's a great
I was
manic
saying
pixie
she
dream
might
girl.
be the right, like in the sense.
I don't know about that, but she's way up there. She's way up there. Like they even say in the movie, like freaking, they all love you, Mary, because freaking you make everybody feel so good about themselves.
Yeah,
but she doesn't have the manic part because she's very set in stone. She's got a great job. Like she just takes care of people around her. Like,
but she's also always upbeat and always kind and always nice and never negative. You know what I mean? And she only gets mad when somebody really like turns out to be a murderer or whatever.
Well,
you know what I mean?
and I always think of your description of this, Zach, then you could correct me if I'm wrong. The manic part for me, or maybe the whole characterization, is like she's got all these qualities that you sort of fan, like 100%. She wants to go to the ball game and she's a huge football fan, and she's like she wants to go hit, she wants to eat a hot dog and go hit balls at the range, and
she's also like
she the hottest chick you've ever seen.
Yeah, but I mean the big thing about it is that I just think it's the manic part of it for me is that she's never down or negative towards you or herself or any situation. In any situation you take the manic pixie dream girl to, she's gonna make it fun. Right. Like she's the girl where you meet her at like the shitty party or the funeral or whatever it is, and then she's all of a sudden like, come on, let's have fun, let's do this, let's do that, and she's like, got you. There's always a girl like that in all these movies.
Spontaneous, where it's like they're just gonna kind of just do. They're gonna
make
flow and
fun
just do
out of
things.
everything.
Okay,
yes.
So yeah, because I always thought the manic part had to be like where they're kind of I'm going to bounce to this situation and this situation.
No.
Really,
I think there's just making the best out of every situation. Okay. They make any situation, no matter how dire or whatever it is, they're going to make it super fun for the
definitely
person.
Her,
yeah. Like freaking Natalie Portman in that movie with Zach Braff, where he's the most fucking bummed out bummerson in the whole world. And she's like, fucking, I'm super happy. Let's fucking, you know what I mean? Anyways. Love Cameron Diaz in this. I fucking love the guy that plays Warren. I have we're going to talk about a lot of the Warren and his friends stuff. There's some stuff I don't like. There's some stuff I really fucking like. When he's yelling, he was masturbating. So when he comes out of the
running next to him.
Is the funniest fuck. I was dying. My wife was like, are you 10 years old? Like, is this really that funny? I was like, that's the funniest fucking shit I've ever seen.
Oh, I died at that.
It is so
it's all in the
funny.
background.
Oh my God. Yeah, dude.
And everybody there who's like just like gathering around wondering what's going on.
Exactly.
And
it just got yelling that he's masturbating. It's so fucking funny. And yeah, dude, I will preface all of that, or not preface, but I will postface that by saying that I didn't love it as much this time when I watched it as I remembered loving it. But I think I've just gotten older. There's some stuff that I like sort of was a little cringe to me. Maybe I'm just fucking too PC for my own good, but I don't know. There's some stuff.
Definitely are that.
Yeah, there was some stuff where I was like, "Ooh, I don't really love that made me laugh so hard when I was 15."
Yeah.
But
I have commentary about this.
But besides that, like, it was great. There's definitely some lulls that I don't remember. There's the laugh stopped for a while, a couple of times, and I'm like, fuck, where's all the funny? You know what I mean? But it was a really fun ride. I liked it. I wanted to watch it with my kids, and I talked to all the guys and my wife, and everyone was like, don't watch it with your kids.
Yeah, not quite.
I 100% was on board with you watching.
Well, I know, but Lisa said, don't listen to Nate.
And I, by the way, did watch it with my son.
So
he turned
17.
He just turned 17.
Exactly. If my kids were 17, we'd be watching
Did he like it?
He did like it. He liked it less than I did when I was 17.
Right.
He's a little bit of a hard sell, especially on movies. Like he's not a like, he definitely did like it. And like, he's one that like he's not afraid to get up in the middle of a movie and be like, I'm fucking out of here. And he's done that with some movies where I've like been heartbroken. Right. But he definitely laughed a lot and liked it and had some comments.
I told you not to show him Showgirls, dude.
Oh, well, I run that on a loop.
That's just on, dude. Hey, that's just on in the background.
He's been playing Grand Theft Auto lately. Showgirls will be the tamest shit he's seen.
He's like, is there a part 2?
Well, this is it. Is there the pool scene was supposed to be
Start from
sexy? What do you got, Scotch?
Oh man, just like you guys. I'm a little older than you guys, just a little bit older than you guys. I was in college, I think, when this came out, and I don't know where I was, but I was in another town at a conference or something. I can't remember where, but I went by myself. I had an afternoon I had to kill, and I'd heard about this movie, and I know I saw Kingpin, I know I saw Dumb and Dumber, but I don't remember those theater experiences. And I absolutely remember this one. It was the most fun I've ever had. Just like you guys saying, you're with everybody in there. You're all reacting, and the load on his ear, that whole thing, that theater just went bonkers.
It fucking erupts. People are not
it's
ready for that,
insane.
especially in 1998. They're not ready for fucking cum on a dude's ear.
And they did a great job marketing the whole thing because they showed her hair, and there was this whole
And you don't know why.
What's going on with that? Yeah.
And so that was the whole marketing leading up, like this crazy thing. And then I think they might have done one of these things where it's like, oh my God, you won't believe what it was. Like
Exactly how they
people
were
building that
marketing
shit
it.
up.
Yes.
And so we get the reveal in the theater. This is before the internet and all that shit to spoil it. And gosh dang, the reveal is amazing. I absolutely loved it. Again, the rewatch, but I've seen the movie probably 3 dozen times at this point. So I still enjoyed it. Like I laughed in some of the parts I've always laughed at. The cast, there's parts of this movie where he's not even in it. The star of the movie is barely in it in certain parts, this whole stretch. And you're like, holy shit, these people are carrying it and it's amazing.
Yeah, some of the secondary characters are just so tremendous.
Dylan's
Oh yeah.
great.
So I still love it.
So I want to comment on a couple things you guys have sort of piggyback on what you've said, which is there's a lot of movies I remember my movie theater experience, and like they tend to be movies that I still really love. This was a movie I really, really love, but it falls into a second category, which is there are certain movies where instead of remembering the experience, I feel like there was never a time I hadn't seen this movie. It was like, it's like one of those things where it's like it absorbed into me and it became part of like my life experience. And I just erased the first memory of it for somehow. Like I have no idea where I saw it or when I saw it or who I was with. It was like, it just became, like, and I think, I don't know if I would say at the time, I don't know if I thought it was the funniest movie that I'd ever seen, but it definitely was the best comedy I had ever seen for me. Like I felt like this was and I don't even mean like in a sort of highbrow way. I just mean like it, whether I laughed the most at this movie, it did it the most correctly in terms of like, at the time, at least feeling like this was like hit it just right. The weird thing about that for me is there are things about this movie that I shouldn't have liked and I shouldn't like now, which is it's a little on the silly side for me. Like as my son put it, they broke through the fourth wall, which is like they play the music at the screen.
Yeah.
That kind of the music and the randomness of that is a little bit weird and silly that I wouldn't normally like. And it just like works perfectly in this movie for some reason. They do it just judiciously enough so that you're like, oh, okay. Like I can handle that. It's also, and this I didn't realize until I thought about it this time, it's maybe the best physical comedy movie of the modern era. Like the physical comedy in this, the stuff with the dog.
Oh my God.
It's so funny. It's still so funny.
When he fucking like WWE slams the fucking dog onto the ground, that shit made me laugh so hard.
When the dog throws the hand up, like I was like, what is going on?
And that's what I'm talking about. Like this, it's like that's so silly and yet it worked so well. And then when Pat Healy's like, rips the cord out of the lamp and
zapping it.
Stay away from the light. And she's like looking at the beer and then he just zaps him. It's so good.
The physical comedy part that got me last night was when he's with the detectives and he's like, you son of a bitch, and slams his head on the table. How they did that, it looks so real. And then he like goes in the back and he's like, what are you doing? He falls off the chair. Oh, it's so good.
And how worked up he was, and like it was like, and I have that for later, but it was like this a whole separate story that buddy cop partnership. I want to see that.
They're on
more.
they were on the screen for like 5 minutes.
They need their own movie.
barely.
And he's like the Matthew McConaughey, just way too worked up. It's way
Fucking
too close
True
to
Detective.
home. Yeah.
He's like, you're worked up. You better let me do the talking.
But it's also a movie that like it's full of just incredible dialogue that somehow they just pepper in different ways that you kind of forget that you say all the time.
Dude, Harlan Williams in the car is
That's exactly where I was going.
Such a fucking home run, dude. It's so funny.
He's on screen for like 4 minutes.
It's so he disappears quick. I thought he was on there for a little bit more than that, but he goes away fast.
7-minute abs.
He's had one of the strangest careers in the sense that, like, if we go Half Baked, he's not even half baked that much because, like, he's the one guy that disappears at the beginning of the movie, and so like he's not in most of it. But when he's on screen, like he just steals it. But yet you haven't seen.
So I wonder.
There's a lot of people that don't know his name. Like,
I wonder if he's on more, it gets old, or like the shtick doesn't hold up for longer because he's such a fucking. What do you say? He hits for power, not slugging percentage, or some shit like that, or whatever.
Power, not for
He had a movie.
He's just for power, not for average.
He had a movie called Rocket Man where he gets sent into space, like to Mars. He's going to Mars. And he wakes up and everybody else is still asleep, and he ends up like eating all the food or like painting with all the food paste on the walls or whatever.
This is the Harlan Williams version of Passengers without Jennifer Lawrence.
Exactly. Yeah. And I didn't make it through the movie because it was not good.
Yeah. So to me,
I don't think he can carry it.
But he reminds me of Tom Green. When you give Tom Green a whole movie, it's like, oh my God, this is fucking terrible.
But Tom Green from Road Trip.
Exactly. But when 100%. He's just like a bit character, you're
or
like, oh
even
my God, this is fun.
in the three blonde. I mean, not blondes, but the three girls. They're the
white chicks.
No, the detectives. The Charlie's Angels.
Charlie's Angels.
Oh yeah, he's great in that.
Charlie's Angels. He's badass
I thought
in
you were
that too.
referencing the one movie White Chicks.
No, I actually have never seen that.
That's a deep.
But Harlan Williams, Dumb and Dumber. I mean, they obviously knew him from Dumb and Dumber when you're sipping on Grandpa's old cough syrup.
Yeah, and barely in that, and funny as shit. Yeah.
Step into my. I mean, I don't know how many times I've said, "Step into my office, you're fucking fired." Fucking like
fired.
All time. Like so. Anyway, I just think that there's a lot of, and we were talking about who's the brother
Warren.
When Warren is yelling, he's masturbating. There's just so like so many little things snuck in. So I think it's genius in terms of whether it holds up. I mean, I still laughed, I think, almost as much as I did, and it had been a while since I'd seen it. I definitely had issues, and I really rather than just like sloughing off the issues, I spent some time thinking about like how I felt about the stuff that is a little bit cringy and like certainly not PC, now, and like which parts of it I think are okay and which parts of it aren't, and which parts are unneeded. So anyway, I got thoughts on that, but maybe we should.
I want to just real quick add to that because like I had said I hadn't seen it in probably 10 years, but I had watched this movie a bunch when I was younger. Yeah. So it was like, it had been a long time since I'd revisited it. And that was my biggest thing is like, is it going to hold up? Is it going to be like, oh shit, this is a little bit cringe or anything? And it was surprisingly to me, like not as cringe as I thought it was going to be. Like
there's one character that I think is cringy and I don't think needs to even be in the movie. And we'll talk about,
yeah. So I'm just saying like I was surprised. I thought it was going to be like more, I don't know, this is kind of weird, but I dug it. I actually still had a lot of fun with it.
All right, so
I gotta pee. I have to pee. Can we pause?
No,
sorry.
No. We're just take the mic with you and mic it up. All right, we'll be back. We'll be back.
Pour yourself a tall drink, sit back and just relax while we ask our silly questions to anyone who wrote us back. But mostly hypothetical is all that we can do. Except for that one guy who made Hoosiers and Rudy too. Drinking with the director.
God, that's so good.
Shout out Big Dave Anspaugh right there. I love it.
Yeah. Anspaugh makes he's the poster child for the director.
Except for that one guy.
Yeah, right. Throwing in except for David Anspaugh. It didn't quite flow.
Yeah. There's only like 2 words in the English language that rhyme with Anspaugh. Right. So toughing. All right, so we are back with the Drinking with the Director segment, but before we do that, because it's our 100th episode, Well, should we first acknowledge our sponsors here?
Oh yeah, we've got to acknowledge Last Call Brewing. Last Call Brewing is our official sponsor of Drinking with the Director, and we have to mention that just only 4 or 5 days from now, on Saturday, January 21st, if you come down to Last Call Brewing at 6 p.m., you'll be able to taste the new delicious BVK IPA, the Director's Cut.
Love it. Love it.
The Director's Cut. It is coming out at the Last Call Tap Room, January 21st.
And that was a circumcision joke, right, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, just making
Yeah,
sure.
of course.
Go ahead.
And we are going to be down. We're going to be down there having some fun. Scotch Beck's going to play some music. You know, a couple of the BVK members might jump in there. There's going to be some T-shirts to give away, some beers to give away. It'll be a fun night. Saucing it up. Food truck's going to be there slanging great chicken sandwiches and spuds and all sorts of good stuff. So get down there, have some fun with us. Let's make it a good night.
Last Call Brewing, Oakdale, California.
There you
Downtown
go.
Tap Room.
Is the Director's Cut, is that different from the original hazy? Can you share that information?
So it's still a hazy IPA.
Still
It's still going to be very similar to the old hazy IPA, but it's got a couple of different hops, right? Instead of
Yeah.
the original concoction.
The ABV is a little higher, 7.4.
I believe that's what we're looking
the
at.
Director's Cut?
Yep.
Okay.
It'll be available on draft and in 4-packs to take with you and take them home.
I mean, it's the unrated version, Scott. So you never know
It
what kind of
is.
shit.
It is
somebody's
the
gonna do.
unrated version for sure.
Okay, so I also want to talk a little bit about the fact that this is the 100th episode. The first thing I want to talk about is let's cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers, guys.
What a funny little journey so far.
So I want to reminisce for a second before we throw a few things around the table. So we got 5 sitting here, and this began right when, as we've talked about many times, when Nick and Zach and I and Brad decided we wanted to sort of like hang out, but couldn't hang out during COVID. So we did the Zoom thing in the basement tapes for a while. And after a year, we decided to really do it.
I gotta just real quick stop you though. It did start off as a threesome. The very first basement tape was a threesome.
We did Almost Famous with just me, Nate, and Nick.
It was a threesome.
And then I was like, it's just not enough sausage.
And then
You,
Brad,
you,
But
you
Brad
sent me a
was
link
like,
and you're
"Why?"
like, hey, you want to get involved in this? I was like, I'm jumping in. I'm greasing up and jumping in there.
Brad might as well have been on it because he was listening every minute and getting live feedback during the pod.
He was live tweeting the
Yes.
pod that
I was BVK's first fan. This is true.
so
was always there.
So did we do Scotch, you were our first judge on the first live draft.
it was on Basement Tapes.
Okay,
Scott was a
that's
judge.
right. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Our last couple basement tapes, we did drafts for like the last
Decided
two.
to try out the draft thing, and then we had Scott and Maddie, right? I think we're.
And his brother.
That was
My
for
brother,
Sing-
Andrew,
for
yeah.
Sing
brother was
Street-
involved.
Sing Street.
But they were drafting, and you were the judge.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
6-person draft, the only 6-person draft I think we've ever done.
And
So
the last.
Scotch rolls in with this like elaborate set of, and the funny thing is, I mean, I don't, did you guys have any idea what it was going to look like? I mean, we just kind of were like, well, someone will just judge. They'll just look at the list and decide. We didn't even tell them what to do. We were just like, you're going to come in and tell us who won.
Right.
The format is what it is, and the judging sort of thing is what it is because Scott decided to go above and beyond one fucking evening during COVID. Definitely.
I had no idea that you guys weren't even airing these. I just heard you guys had a podcast. I
probably
swear to God,
lied.
He's
I
like,
swear to God, because I'm a big pod listener. I listen all the time when I'm out on the tractor, and I'm like, oh my God, these guys have a podcast. Sweet. And I'm going to be on it, and I'm going to judge. Oh shit, I got to do this right. And I thought you guys had drafts before, and like it was like a total
And at that
thing.
point, I had never met you.
Right?
Did you know Nate? I don't know if you
we
knew
had met,
Nate.
but I mean,
Yeah.
it was like in passing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just like, well, shit, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it right. So I had like a whole scoring system and everything.
It was back when you used to be a roadie for my brother's band. It was probably the first time.
Carrying. I probably carried Scotch's like bag of
Sticks?
sex toys and
Stuff.
sticks and stuff into Charlie's.
Did I say sticks?
Dude, if you put a vibrator on a snare drum, it's a fucking sickest drum roll you've ever heard, dude. It's fucking fast.
Oh, yeah.
So we captured some of Scotch's yeahs, threw them on our board, and we were off and running. So Nick and Brad and Zach and I start to release, and Scott became kind of the go-to, rotating as the go-to judge when we wouldn't have other guest judges, and occasionally Scott sort of started to pipe in occasionally when you show up earlier or on the episodes.
Well, you guys would tell me to show up, and then I'd just be hanging out for a while.
And then we'd be like, we won't be ready for about 2 hours.
So I started throwing in some comments.
And so then there was this one time when I think I may or may not have had to shit my colon out on the toilet. And,
Oh, that is. I forgot about that. We all showed up at Nate's house to do a pod, and Nate was nowhere to be found, and we were just sitting in the backyard. And
Blowing
then we
his
were like,
O-ring out.
He was like, guys, I'm not making it out of the house. I am blowing his O-ring out.
He just got that cool.
Just lost all elasticity in his anus. And fucking Scotty showed up and like, hey, I'm going to judge tonight. And we were like, actually, you're going to fucking be a full-fledged member of the pod tonight because Nate's fucking got a red hot lava butt.
Yeah, so that was the first time I got to actually co-host. I just jotted down a few little shag snags and just went for it. It was super, super fun. That was one of the most fun episodes I can remember.
So then we've had a bunch of really cool guests at different times. One of the early ones is my college roommate and buddy Cliff Chamberlain, who's an actor. By some miracle, we got John Anspaugh for the Hoosiers episode, who directed that, and Rudy, as we talked about.
David Anspaugh.
Say it one more time.
David Anspaugh. We got by some miracle we got David Anspaugh.
His brother John, we did get on for a little bit though, and then we found out he didn't actually direct the movie, and we were like, fuck.
Yeah, that happens. So we got John Anspaugh on.
Have fun with that.
We got David Anspaugh on for the Hoosiers episode. He did Rudy, which is, for me, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. It was one of the coolest experiences. Yep. And then kind of last minute, we got Charlie Talbert on, who was the star of Angus when we did the Angus episode.
We did.
So we've had some really cool ones.
Godfather.
We had
Oh yeah, we had fucking Francis Ford Coppola's editor.
Yeah. So for the Godfather episode, we had Robbie Schaefer on, who's one of the main editors for Francis Ford Coppola. I think he got the gig as like one of the 2 editors for Megalopolis.
Dude, and Megalopolis is like running out of money right now. I was just reading about it.
We're when that comes out, we got to have Robbie
fucking
back
wild
for sure.
So anyway, we've had a bunch of that run. So then Nick decided that he was going to go. I think he
walk the earth.
Well, you were walking the earth, and also you're co-hosting an ESPN show or something, right? Or are you coaching your quarterback's coach for the Ravens too, or something? I don't know. What are you doing?
Yeah, we're headed into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Lamar's he's feeling okay.
He's not playing.
He's on the mend.
He's not playing.
Yeah.
Not playing.
Yeah.
So I'm jumping ship, and I'm on the Purdy. I'm on the Purdy train.
So Nick stepped away, and Scotch he came on.
Nick stepped away, and Scott stepped in, and it was a seamless transition. So seamless that we didn't even mention it.
Yeah,
that's right. And I had a couple of friends that were pretty pissed about that. So you guys at least got to say something. My buddy Josh in Colorado, he's like, "Oh, really? You guys aren't going to say anything? Like, he's just gone?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're good."
I kept saying we should
have
just
been
say that he
an
died,
asshole.
but nobody wanted to go.
Well, he died. Though. It's a pretty funny. That's like I said. That's good content. You can really drag that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It was kind of weird for me. Those are big shoes to fill, in my opinion. And I miss having you on. I love sitting next to you and just cracking jokes. And you're so good. I always called you the silent assassin because just out of nowhere, all of a sudden, here comes a line just from a movie. And oh man, so I've missed you. And
he misses your musk.
God, I love your scent.
Your scent.
Your musk.
I think we really missed an opportunity to say that Nick died and then start a GoFundMe. And we really could have raked in some dough for sure. That was a bad move.
Especially if we'd put a picture of him up with no shirt on and been like, "This guy died."
Yeah.
Can you believe what?
This
kind of
guy died.
Yeah.
That's all that's all the GoFundMe would say.
People love hot fucking dead dudes.
people.
Yeah.
Brick killed
Have you
a guy.
seen Jesus' six pack, bro? Fuck.
I think there's one picture of us online of like as a podcast when Nick was on the pod, and I still think that our female listenership went down significantly once Nick left the pod. They don't even get to see this guy, and somehow they were like, "Yeah,
sure.
that sexuality's gone, and I think I'm out of here."
You missed an opportunity for making a T-shirt that says "Brick killed a guy" and having my T-shirt, my face,
Nick's face showed photoshopped onto like a
Trident. Yeah.
buff Jesus.
Right.
We can still work on that T-shirt. Though.
Okay. So Nick's back for the 100th. We don't know. We might try to convince him to rotate in once in a while. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen.
I'm going to work hard on that.
So here's what I want to know from you fellas, since we're reminiscing. What's your favorite moment from the pod. No, let's not go there. Let's go with your favorite. What's your favorite episode? If you had to pick a whole episode.
Oh wow.
I'll let you guys go first because I'm a little bit more recent. I want you guys to dig into the vault a little bit.
Well, we mentioned that Ready or Not episode when I actually got to jump in is the one that I instantly thought of because I just loved the whole experience. I loved coming on as a judge, but I was also sitting there going, man, I kind of want to do what you guys are doing the whole time. That's really super fun. And I get the call and like, we don't think Nate's going to be on. And so
Just bring in the lefty.
yeah. So it brought me in and God, I just remembered it was super fun. And I didn't totally make a fool out of myself and I got through it pretty good and had a great time. So Ready or Not was one of my first memories that I really enjoyed.
I think it's one of our lowest rated episodes.
I'm sure it is.
It was Zach's pick. It was my pick, so for sure it was one of our lowest rated. High tension's coming for the crown, though.
High tension's getting some listens lately. I've noticed it's picking up a little bit.
Tawny and Felicia are maybe pushing a little bit of
I think they are.
traffic.
Yeah, that's
that
because
way.
Two Chicks in a Horror Flick have like 12 times the number of listeners.
That's right.
It's truth.
Okay, so what do you got, Nikki? What's your favorite episode if you had to pick one?
Oh my God. Okay, I'm gonna say a few.
Okay,
Okay,
good. Give it
take
to
it.
us.
Well, and Spa just
Yeah,
that was kind of like starstruck. Like we made it, guys. Like you
Yeah.
know, our wives are taken care of, families are taken care of. You know, they're good. That's when we buy all houses.
That's when the big
was
bucks.
like, and I quit.
Yeah,
You got that first royalty check, and you're like, I can retire.
like yeah, Mom, you're good. Grandma, you're good. But then also the Godfather editor, American Zoetrope
Yeah.
editor, Mr. Robbie Schaefer. Those were just two. You know, we talk about because from the start you joke around about this. We're such movie guys, and to actually be talking about. And I remember preparing for it, like I was preparing for a final, like it was like game time. But I enjoyed every minute of that, and that was like unbelievably special.
Nick, I just want to say that since you've left, the number of papers on the table has drastically reduced to like 0.
I did
far as
bring my
pages,
clipboard is on my lap.
Highlights and
I was
stuff.
gonna say I'm no longer getting highlighter headaches.
Color
after
coding. There's a lot less color coding since you've left.
Draft
man.
selections are not color coded. Probably why there's been a lot less winning at this table. I assume.
I jumped in nice for you, buddy.
Tune in next
Seamless.
Tune in next episode. You'll hear some draft research and some breakdown, and there's some interesting numbers there.
So I will say on the Anspa one, I mean, I love that episode. It was surreal and great.
Right.
For me, like it's all the stuff surrounding it. Cause like, I had kind of been going back and forth with his manager who I randomly called and was walking down Park Avenue. And he was like, oh yeah, you sound legit. I'll check with him. And I'm like, yeah, how does he even? So then, like, a couple weeks later, it seems like it kind of died via email, and I get a call. I'm at the tire shop with my kids, and like loading them up, like Mr. Mom, just like shit's going sideways, and the phone rings, and it says like maybe David Anspaugh, and I'm like,
Maybe.
what is happening right now? So
Quit fucking with me, Siri.
Screenshotted it.
So we're chatting, and like he's like, yeah, I'm kind of describing the show. He's like, yeah, no, I've listened to some episodes. And I'm like, are you? It was super surreal. So like for me, I totally agree that. I definitely was like, yeah, I'm going to quit my job and because I'm famous now. So
That was the coolest
Absolutely.
thing when he said that he'd already been listening to some
Yes.
episodes.
it was crazy.
Just knowing that somebody that you respect and you like
Yeah.
listens to your stuff and says they like it.
The fact
That's
that
pretty
he
cool.
related to me and said, "Oh, I also played quarterback, or I also played football."
Right.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
was
he actually
badass.
clowned you a little bit and was like all league, all state,
Yeah,
Indiana, and you were like, oh fuck.
I'm like, yeah, you're. Yeah. So I'm another special one, which I hate that it's like a great memory, but Hereditary. And I hate it.
That's what I was
in
going to
most
say, Nick.
ways.
I piggyback on that. That's my favorite one. Sitting there outside
Sitting
at
on the
Nate's
couch
house,
watching that was a really fucking cool.
That was a fun
snuggling up with you
And
guys.
that video of when Brad fucking cracked that joke about that this is an EpiPen, long EpiPen commercial, and we all died. And I didn't know that. I don't know if I realized or I forgot that the camera was rolling, and then you played it. Because that was just
So
like
funny.
pure laughter, and that shit just killed me. And it was a good movie, and I still can't get it out of my head. It slowly, as each day goes by, leaves my brain a little bit, and I just can't wait till it's completely gone.
Did you ever go back and watch Midsummer?
No, Fuck no.
He's not going to do that.
If we get the couch out at Nate's, will you?
No.
No. All right. What do you got, Zach?
If you're saying favorite, that's what I was going to say. I have a different pick for like my most memorable.
Yeah, you got us to sit down and watch that shit.
If I'm gonna say, can I move on to that?
Yeah, please.
So like the most memorable one that I have, and it has to do with most of you guys. I remember so vividly the second episode we ever did was the McConaughey movie that I love, Frailty. And I love that movie. And I'm just kind of like a cocky person. And I was like, they're gonna fucking love this movie. Like I was just so convinced that you guys were all gonna like. Now that I know you guys like even better than I knew you guys then, like now I know that like I have no like when I tell Brad to watch a movie, I fucking have no idea what's going to come back. Like, I have no idea. He could love it. He could hate it. He could be indifferent. I have no clue where he's going to go. Like freaking Nate, I have a little better like handle on your taste, but even you surprise me sometimes. But that movie really, I made you guys watch that. And then when you guys got back and no one liked it, I was just like, what the fuck is happening? Like, I thought this was a home run. This fucking movie's so good. And I just remember sitting there like, I wasn't upset, but I was like just so blindsided. Like, how could they not love this fucking movie?
But I mean, in some ways, right? Like, the part of what's great about that is it set a tone.
It did. It
which
set a
was
real
like
tone.
Second episode, and like we come out swinging. Like
but we're not going to sit here and tell you that your movie's good if we think it's dog shit.
Nobody was trying.
We're not here like stroking each other off.
Yeah,
sure.
Nobody was trying to be a dick, but like we're just going to be kind of funny and straight about it.
Yeah, and so I wasn't on the pod as a full-time member at that point, so I was listening to all these and hadn't heard it. And that was so fun.
They're like, they're so mean.
but to actually like, because I'm used to like, the rewatchables where they all like the movie. Like they all are into
premise,
it.
yeah.
I'm like, dude, it's kind of nice to hear some guys say, no, your movie's dog shit. And we're going to tell you about it. Just like Strange Brew. Strange Brew is one of my favorite episodes to listen to.
I got destroyed.
That's how I felt. I was
part
like,
of my
holy
soul
shit.
died that day.
But the thing, I'm Team Brad on that movie. I love Strange Brew. And I was like going, oh man, well, at least one of the guys is probably going to like, nope.
I think Love Actually might have been mine. Love Actually or Definitely Maybe. I got kicked in the nuts on.
I was going to reference the Definitely Maybe episode.
All right, so Brad, you've been holding out on us.
Yeah, and you know what? We've talked about some old episodes, but I mean, really most memorable for me is recently we sat down to talk about
After Jerry Maguire.
After Jerry Maguire, we did a draft, and our draft was the most memorable one-liners,
Romantic one-liners. Yeah.
And we had our friend Kendra on, and Walter, her husband, was with us. And I don't think I've ever laughed more during an episode as we were recording it. And then later, listening to it as I was editing it, I was laughing out loud more than I ever had. And it was very fun because the sense that we've been doing this a pretty long time. And that was like around episode late 80s, early 90s or something like that. And just realizing we're having such a great time doing this and like how much we can laugh and have a great time with people that we like and bringing people on that are funny and bring something to the pod. It's just great. It really it just reminded me why we're doing this and how much fun we're having.
Yeah, I'd forgotten. I was laughing so hard. Somebody's like, dude, I think we lost Scott. Like,
you almost fell out of your chair and like knocked over your mic, dude.
It was dying. That was the whole Fanny Flutters thing.
So I've got a couple favorites. So I think my favorite episode for sure is Pulp Fiction, and it's kind of a weird one because it's not like a particular moment, but I remember the energy from that one.
I remember getting done with that one and being like, we fucking killed it in that episode.
Yeah.
And I don't get that feeling a lot of times.
Yeah. And it was like, I think we taped on a Saturday instead of a weeknight. Our families
it was light
were there.
outside.
I think our wives were around. We kind of had a party night planned, and it was like, and that episode was one we were like, we were waiting to do. And it was just such a, like, we all loved it. It was such a like high octane movie, such a good conversation. So for me, like that, I think if I had to just like pick one episode, but there's some other really great moments. Like when we had Lieutenant Dan on, who's a longtime friend. And then so Danny he's a funny guy, but he's not comedy funny. He's not comedy funny. Like and he was so funny. Like I didn't expect him to come out like the way he did and like call me out for thinking I was half a cop.
I think Training Day, I think it's still our number one episode, number one most listened to episode.
And he's just Danny was so, I mean, he was good in the ways I thought he would be good, which is he breaks down like the way that you know, a cop would watch that movie. And Danny's a great cop, so you know he was Lieutenant Dan at the time. He's now Chief Dan. So I think that part of that episode where he was on was great. I really love the draft of the sexiest men and the wives just absolutely killing us.
Great feedback on that one.
Yeah, as a listener, that was one of my all-time. I had so much fun listening to you guys getting your asses handed to you by your wives. Just like, you guys have no idea what makes a good-looking dude. Like, literally. It's so great.
And then I think on the Shawshank episode where we interviewed, I mean, the Shawshank episode is one of my favorites because it's my favorite movie.
Right.
But when we interviewed Mike from that is a coworker of Zach's, was just like, you know, it felt like the insight we were getting and the blend between what he was saying about his experiences in prison and his reaction to the movie, which he'd sort of really been thoughtful about, was crazy. So
absolutely. And you finally, after about 20 years of trying, you've got me to watch Scotch. So,
and he kind of grudgingly liked it, but it was still like he didn't give it all the way.
I liked it.
Memorable moments for me. I got to say one thing. When I think, and we've done some commercials, and we've had actually an episode about our commercials, and we'll still come through with a nice commercial here and there. And Scotch Beck has obviously set the bar pretty high with some of his musical commercials. But the first time when Nick here brought out the Velcro wallet, and he brought a prop to the commercial. I think about lost my shit. Like, I just couldn't believe it. Every time he unzipped that wallet, and he was just saying the most random things, and I was just dying.
And I think you were like talking about how you practiced it on the way with your wife.
On the way, we were driving home from a long road trip from a football game, and my wife and I talked through this thing, and she gave me a lot of ideas, and it was all done and ready by the time it was.
I just love picturing he and Denise, you know, and Denise is just ripping the wallet and having Nick say
and a couple of times I would come up with ideas, and she'd be like, I don't know. 'Cause I was just going out there.
Which episode was that for?
So that was so someone in it was 40-Year-Old Virgin with the 40 with the
no it was definitely maybe
it was Crazy Stupid Love.
Crazy Stupid Love.
Okay,
he has the
Steve Carell's
Got it.
I think that's my wife's. I think that's Court's favorite commercial. Ever from the.
So I was also one I was proud of, which I thought about was the Carl Winslow, the hotline
When you were playing the fart noises.
When you're struggling to shit and you need Carl Winslow's support.
Talk you through it.
Oh my God! So
I love you.
So we have a commercial.
We're all thinking about you, man.
Yeah,
we have a commercial special episode.
Yeah,
we do.
Yeah. So if you haven't, if you love the commercials, go back and check that one out, because that has just some that will make.
It's got some of the top commercials on
especially
it,
for some of the new folks. If you haven't gone back and listened to some of our old commercials, some of them, I mean, you won't know what the movie is, but
it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
They're all pretty damn funny.
So I'm going to jump in on that too, because actually one of my favorite memories was fairly recent. We did Gross Point Blank, and when I read the commercial for Bob's Beamers, and so if you listen to it, you can hear me start to laugh, but as I was reading it, the guys in the room were laughing, like just trying to not laugh. And I looked out of the corner of my eye and saw somebody's shoulders shaking. And I started laughing so hard. So Brad actually edited out like about 30 seconds of us just literally just losing our shit. Yeah. I couldn't talk. I was just shaking and laughing so hard. And it just, it's those laughs where you just can't stop laughing. It was so fun. Yeah. So that was a recent one. And I love that one.
So I'm going to throw the last topic out before we actually talk to the director, and this is kind of a little bit abstract, maybe a little existential. So what does it mean to be at the 100th episode for you guys? Like, looking back on where we started and where we are, like, how does it? What's your reaction? What's your feeling? What's your sort of like? What's your reflection on that? Anybody got anything?
Yeah. So I mean, the fact that our listenership has stayed pretty steady, which means that we're not just like, oh, people checked us out and then they leave. Like, we feel like we've got a strong core audience that really appreciates what we're doing, and that means a lot to me. And just even recently, we got a fan from Australia.
Right.
Is that Steve Johnston?
Stevie Johnson. We said we were going to give him a shout out because he said some really kind shit. And shout out, Stevie. We fucking see you over on the other side of the world.
Down under.
Yeah, down under over there, man. That shit makes us feel good, because we are just guys that have grown up together, small town, close friends, and the fact that people tune into that, where they're like, oh, dude, it just feels like I'm sitting around with my friends, and that's the shit that we're doing.
To be fair, you said we were mates.
Blokes, I think.
Blokes and
is that
mates.
what you said?
Blokes and
Yeah.
mates. So yeah.
I love that shit.
Oh yeah, I ate it up.
Stevie, send me some more fucking Australian slang, dude.
But like the fact that we're just having a good time with our friends, and we're a different type of podcast. We're not supposed to be professionals that are like super knowledgeable and trying to like.
We're good at that. Not being
Yeah,
professional.
we're just trying to like just have some fun and make you laugh. And if you're driving and you get to enjoy just a couple minutes and you laugh and you're enjoying yourself too, that makes me feel great. So 100 episodes in, I'm glad that people are still listening and appreciate that.
I appreciate everything.
Appreciate
I
all of
appreciate
that.
the hell out of
I'll
it.
appreciate you later if you hang around and have a drink.
Extra prish.
Is that how you say it, Nate? I appreciate you.
Don't tell me what I think.
She got appreciated, but we took care of it.
Is that what you tell the old lady?
Yeah, I'm gonna appreciate you later. What else? Anyone else got thoughts?
So something I was kind of just thinking back about, you guys started doing this, not to get things too far down, but I had a rough year. My dad passed away, and right around the time you guys started this thing, and it was just the perfect timing for something that really helped me just get out of the house and not just sit here. And I just really appreciate the escape that you guys have given me. Not only is just me being on the show, because then there was ones I wasn't, just having something to listen to, being able to laugh and have a great time. And I just want to thank you guys for that, for allowing me to be part of this thing and just welcoming me this whole time. And it's just been so great, and I just love it. And let's just keep going.
Love you, Scott.
Love you, bud.
So I just want to piggyback that really quick because like, oh God, I originally
Struggle right there.
we started doing this as an excuse to hang out, and I was really close to Nate and I was really close to Nick, and we started doing it, and then Brad came on, and I wasn't super close to Brad, but I feel like I'm pretty close to Brad now, and I didn't know Scott at all, and now I feel like we're all like super close friends. Like I can freaking call any of you guys. Like freaking, we played golf the other day. Like
Yep.
it's really, really cool. And on top of that, there's other people that have come in too, like freaking Walter at Last Call. Like, I feel like he's like a friend. You know what I mean?
Rotates
And
into the pod.
exactly.
Yeah.
And Jake and freaking even the Hoist and Heavies guys that we've hung out with a few times. Like
Josh.
those guys are
Yep.
super cool, man. And like, it's just so many like connections that we've made through the pod that have been super positive, like influences on, I think, all of our lives. And I just
Except for my brother who thinks we're idiots.
dude, even Tim, dude, Tim, who has called me an idiot more than almost anyone that I know, but is this super sweet dude and really fucking nice. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. It's just it's really cool. I dig it. I wish that fucking Nick would come back and hang out with me. And sit on. Nick, you guys, it used to be so cool. Nick would sit on my lap when we were doing the pod.
It's funny they didn't have the visual, but you guys shared a mic for like
it was
a good
really
25 episodes.
We only
there.
had 3 mics. Nick would sit on my lap. I would let him say something every once in a while, and then
And Zach would then reach his head over by my ear to talk into the
and I
mic.
would sometimes I would like kind of do a little echo thing where I would like lick Nick's ear and then talk into it, and so I just miss those days.
Yeah, I don't, but but what I think our friend here is trying to say is that true love is blind. And
it again.
Oh God.
from where we started to where we are, and I miss you guys a lot. Often. And what started this whole conversation about like just laughter and how hard you're able to laugh and laughed. How able
I appreciate your laughter.
making me laugh over here so damn hard.
Denise, shut up.
we throw that T at the end of everything. I don't know how, I don't know another like, setting that you can sit down and laugh so hard, so often, other than sitting with like really good friends talking about, and just, we're all passionate about movies and we care so much about it. We all can take a joke, and we can all bust each other's balls and just kind of like move on. And it's all this, it was an escape for me, from the daily grind. And, I miss that. I miss laughing as hard as what you guys have been talking about. And that's what I would tell my wife and really come back. And that was a lot of the commentary and how things would go is just, it been great. Laughed a lot.
Yep.
You know, went great, you know, laughed a ton. It was funny. Or like sometimes I would tell her some of the jokes, sometimes I would tell her some of the commercials, and wouldn't get into it a lot, but just it was the same. And that was the constant always, was how hard you can laugh week after week. Because at the first 50, we were going once a week.
Yeah, that shit was wild.
The first 50, we were going once a week.
We're taping every week.
Taping
2 episodes.
2 episodes.
Yeah.
Once every week. And so we felt like we were grinding. You felt, but it didn't feel like a job. You knew we were all kind of like tired, but we were all there and we were all tired, and we would start at 8 because no one can make it at 6 or 6:30. And so we were all getting home at, 10, 11, 11:30.
We never made it home at 10. We were home
we were
fucking
like
midnight.
I was
11,
rolling in at
11:30.
12:30 or 1.
It got later and later.
But I'm gonna cherish those memories, and I look forward to being around, and even if it's just coming around and whispering and breathing hard on Zach's neck every once in a while, the nape part of it.
The neck. No, I mean, my thoughts about it are sort of similar to what's been said mostly, which is, it's been an opportunity for 100 episodes, right? I mean, we taped those first, like you said, 50 in 25 nights, and then we've done 50 more in 50 nights. No, 25 nights. I guess we've done it 25 nights in both cases. We do two per. So we've done 50 nights of recording, or maybe a little more, splitting things up over the course of almost 2 years now, and longer than that if you count the basement tapes. I mean, more than anything, it's a lot of time that we've spent getting to do something we really love with people we love, right? And we've done it now enough. I mean, at 100 episodes, it's like, there are things in your life that you remember, but you're like, I forgot about that. And we'll never forget about it. We'll be 75 and we'll be like, this was a big thing that was important to us. I think that's one. I mean, two, I think a lot as I get older, I'm 43, about like, I don't like the idea that I'm not ever going to do anything new again. So like I picked up guitar because I just never played an instrument. So I wanted to play, so like, a few years ago, I just decided I was going to try to play guitar and sing a song. And over the, I ran a marathon when I was 30 just because I'm not much of a runner, but I was like, that'd be a thing to say I did, to try to do.
You ran a full marathon?
I did.
I did not know that about you.
It was horrible. I'll never do that shit again.
The one.
You know how like they say when you run a marathon that like, that like last mile, you just like, the finish line's there and you just get all this energy. I almost just laid down. I was like, fuck this shit. 25 miles is pretty cool. I'll just get one of those bumper stickers and just scratch out the 6 and get a 5. Fuck that. Anyway, so I mean, for me, part of it was that, I think this is like to do it, and not just to do it and do a few, but like, we put out more content than like 98% of podcasts on Spotify this year. So that's what they tell us, right? I mean, when you get to 100 episodes, like, it's not just like a thing that you did and then forgot about. It's, we've done enough that it's like, we did a thing, and for me, not just a thing, but like I've loved movies my whole life. My dad loves movies. Like he kind of, he passed that on to me. We shared a lot of experiences with that. And so it's like, and he listens to the podcast. So for me, it's like a special, like I tried to do something new that I'd never done before with, my best friends, that I get to say, like I did something new when I was old, and like, I don't know what the next new thing is, but I like it that I'm not, I don't feel like that. I guess the last thing for me is, it feels like a little bit of a time capsule.
Yeah.
I mean, like one of the things that's true about this, and obviously, there's a little bit of like, you're in podcast mode in the sense that you're being a little more, jokey than you might be in all parts of your life, but
speak for yourself.
That's true. One of my favorite comments Zach's ever made is like, when I sit in meetings, I just sit there for like 45 minutes just figuring out when the next funny thing is that I can say.
Not thinking at all about what people are saying. I'm just like,
truer thing is
what funny thing can I say?
But I mean, we're all pretty much ourselves. Like it's not like this is a podcast where it's like there's a personality and then you get off the air. And obviously everybody's different in different parts of their life. But, like if my kids or my grandkids or somebody that, didn't know me got to, like if they ever care, right? Like there's 100 episodes of content, that they, or more now, where they get to know me, like this is kind of who I am, and certainly in a part of my life and some of my thoughts like it is. So I don't know. It seems like a cool, special thing to get to the landmark, and hopefully do 100 more. I don't know.
I'm in.
Yeah. I mean, wow. I just don't know what to say. I mean, I guess the only thing I can say is we promise to keep rocking and rolling and making better podcasts. I mean, it seems we make these podcasts and sometimes, they're considered filthy or something by some people, but I don't think that's true. These podcasts we make, they can be better. They can help. They really can. I mean that. We can always do better. We're going to keep trying. If you guys keep trying, let's keep rocking and rolling, man.
Thanks, Brad Dickler.
Brad Dickler.
All right. So that's enough of the reminisce. Let's. What are we all drinking before we actually get to the director?
Oh, yeah.
What are you drinking there, Scotch?
Well, I'm drinking what you brought. You brought a special whiskey, Whistle Pig 12.
Whistle Pig 12. Yeah, it's kind of a little more than usual because it's a special 100.
Yeah,
that's what I'm drinking too. But I'm chasing it with the DP and grenadine.
DP and red stuff.
Yeah. Grenadine and no opinions.
I heard a
What'd
pop.
you do? What'd you just crack?
Well, I'm drinking some of that Whistle Pig, but I got a little double fist going here. I'm also drinking some Last Call Citra Bowl. It is 100% Citra hops, and it is a little pale ale, a little hazy pale ale. It's delicious.
That one I liked. We had that one at the not that I didn't like any of the other ones, but the Citra
Nice save.
That one I like.
Hey, Walter, I just gave Zach dagger.
the Citra Bowl that I got at the last Call Brewing was fucking delicious.
You know, Last Call's our sponsor, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I gave them the sponsorship.
Yeah, he wrote up the contract with his mouth.
That sounded.
Yeah.
I
held the pen with my mouth, Nick.
Stop eating the mic.
Couldn't deep throat it quite as much as Nate does. But
All right, what are you drinking, Nikki?
I'm double fisting the same as Brad. This is the first time I've tried Operation Nectaron from Last Call.
No, I like that.
It's pronounced Nectaront.
I'm also having Whistle Pig.
I'm drinking the shout out to my boy Walter. We're going back to Chico State. Shout out to my boy Aaron Rodgers. We got the pale ale from Sierra Nevada.
Aaron Rodgers not in the playoffs.
Aaron Rodgers.
I like how you read that. You're like
OG.
Pale ale, like you were reading it for the first time ever.
So it's
He's
funny,
like reading from a scroll.
So it's like, I remember back when Sierra Nevada Pale Ale was like, you thought that was like the equivalent of calling it like Nectarant. Like it was like the name of a beer. Instead of it just being like everyone.
A type of beer. Yeah.
It's like Kleenex and tissues. Sierra Nevada is like the Kleenex of beers.
It's like Day Network, which I realized we forgot to talk about.
The network. That's right. We are on the network.
We'll get there. Let's hold off on that. Okay, so
We promoted them plenty.
so we're drinking with the director here, and I'm going to lead hard here. I'm going to take my prerogative as host.
Let's do it.
So, like I said in the intro, one of the things that I came in, and I wouldn't say that like, I mean, anytime we do a movie that's older, one of the immediate questions, especially when they're comedies, is like, okay, does this hold up in the sense that like, are there things here that we just can't laugh about anymore, that like aren't PC, that are we now look at, we or society or whoever is thinks that this is sort of not something that would be made today or that we feel comfortable about. And so, I went into it looking for that, right? I mean, I remembered parts of it obviously, and that would be candidates. But I guess I kind of, I didn't want to just like be simple about it and be like, okay, these are things that we can't really talk about because they're kind of not PC or they're not comfortable. And the main ones are obviously the way that they treat people with disabilities, right? I mean, and you remember the stuff with her brother Warren and with the kids that are the individual that are in the sort of like the camp with him. But the one that I hadn't thought about is Norm until I got closer to the movie, right? I mean, he's somebody.
Tucker.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Tucker.
Tucker.
Right.
Yeah, Tucker.
But his real name was Norm.
Yeah, Tucker.
Right.
And so, like, what do you guys think about the Tucker comedy? Let's start there, because I think in some ways, like, that one's maybe a little bit like more straightforward in my opinion.
So in my opinion, that I said earlier that I thought there was one character that I think is unnecessary, and that's Tucker. And I'm conflicted about it because of two reasons. I guess he was pretending to be disabled.
Right.
Yep.
And most of the time, before you know that he's pretending, he does a whole bunch of physical comedy that I felt was sort of punching down against people with disabilities, right? I mean, it seemed very punch downy, especially when he's like trying to pick this up off the ground. Now, I will preface all of that by saying that as a 15-year-old, I laughed my fucking ass off at that shit, and he is a great physical comedian. Like, it was funny, but this time when I watched it, I felt conflicted watching it because I was like, you're not supposed to know that you're supposed to think he's a disabled man, and you're watching it and you're like, okay,
you're supposed to be laughing at the fact
you're supposed to be laughing at the fact that he's disabled. Exactly.
Or whatever.
Exactly. And I struggled with that a little bit. I think that the Warren stuff and the other kids, I think it doesn't feel punching down to me. It feels like he's funny. He's one of the characters. He's obviously saying funny things, but I don't think that he is like a cartoon character.
So that's what I kept this is the number one thing I was struggling with, was like, you know, like there are two issues with the Warren stuff for me. One is like, is it a caricature of what a disabled person might sort of, how someone might behave, what their affect would be, the you know, either the physicality or the sort of, you know, like, you know, the sort of verbalizations. And I couldn't decide, right? I mean, certainly you could find somebody that had a very similar set of mannerisms.
Right.
And
Well, I'll say from the beginning, after watching this movie, I thought they had cast an actual mentally disabled person for Warren. I did not realize that it was an actor playing. I mean, it was believable enough for me, but I'm obviously I was like 19 when I watched it. I thought, oh, they actually hired like a mentally disabled person who played the part, and they just kind of instructed him what to do.
Right. And I'm the same way. I had no idea. And there's another guy when they were playing checkers, and he walks up with a coconut. And he's like, coconut, whatever. Mm-hmm. That guy is not. Also, but I knew him from Kingpin. He worked behind the bowling desk. And I remember watching it the very first time, and that one bothered me at the time because it's a really bad acting job that made me feel kind of, you know.
Yeah.
You feel like he's making fun.
That was a caricature. He was making fun. It was like, it was a little bit too much. Warren just felt like he did such a really good job.
And I want to say too that like it's not like a disabled or mentally handicapped person can't be funny, right? I mean, they could be funny just like anybody else, and that's why I felt weird about the Tucker one, because he's not being funny just to be funny. He's being funny because you're laughing at the fact that he can't do something.
But there's two things though. One, I mean, obviously once you know, he's doing it because he's trying to win Mary. He knows that she has a kind heart, and so he knows. But their interplay, like their relationship, where she goes over and kind of moves the keys, like you can see that they've dealt with issues with his disability before, and that she's just kind of gone with the flow. It's not like she's making fun of him. She's just like,
yeah, she's definitely not making fun of him. I mean, I guess in some ways I would be more, so like if you look at the Warren part, when I went into that one, I was thinking, well, I'm not going to have any problem with that, because what they're making fun of is Pat Healy, who they're making fun of him being an asshole, making fun of people with disabilities.
Right.
And I think I still thought that, but it was more complicated once I watched it. Whereas with the Norm stuff, I was like, maybe as much as anything, it's like, it's not necessary either, right? Like you could have the same character and just have him be this fake British architect guy that
without the disability,
you know, that comes in to get his
100%
to get his leg looked at.
Yeah. I guess the plot is that he injured his back.
His friend hit him with the baseball bat.
Yeah, but that's one joke. You take that one joke out, and it's not even a plot point.
Right. You just like, I started going and saying I had a bad back. I mean, there's just not, you know, you can do the same exact thing without that, and they don't need that physical comedy. The thing is, there's so much other good physical comedy that you could sub that out for almost any, you know, bit of it. So like the Norm part of it, I was like, that's lazy.
I almost feel like it maybe wasn't even written in. Like, I just feel like I could imagine on the set, like him playing around with the crutches and all of a sudden doing something like that. And like, let's put that into the movie type thing, because like it looks funny the way he does it, and then just thinking like, let's put that in. So I don't know. I don't know the backstory on it, but it is. I mean, I don't know. It's tough.
So for me, the part that felt complicated when I watched it, because originally I was like, oh, Healy, they're making fun of Healy, right? And and I still don't know totally how to feel about that, but like, if you're making, a lot of times I think that that people look at something and they say, well, that's like not PC, when a piece of comedy or a piece of art or any kind of movie is they're actually trying to make fun of or criticize the person who is being bigoted. And because it's such a sensitive topic, people don't get into that. And so it seems as though they're, they're sort of making fun of that. They're punching down, like you said. And my memory of it was like, in the past, he's a fucking asshole, right? Like he makes a fool of himself to Mary by talking about, using language when he's talking about the way that he works with, people with disabilities. Right. It makes him look stupid. And what I wondered this time when I watched it was like, okay, but like in doing that, it portrays this very uncomfortable reality, right? It's not like this is a super rarity, right? And the same with the scene at the beginning, right? Where like the high school kids make fun, tell them to say, penis instead of baseball, wiener instead of baseball. And like, I watched that part and I was again like, they're kind of making fun of those guys.
Yeah, but that's high school. They were in high school at the time. And when you're in high school, you're a dick. And I look back, I'll probably get canceled for just admitting this, but we said all kinds of stuff about the disabled kids and stuff because it's just what you do when you're young and dumb and stupid and don't know any better.
And I think honestly, like if I had to pick a number one regret in life, and I've said this many times, it's that I don't recall ever like giving disabled kids a hard time.
Right.
But I certainly wish I had I observed it enough times that I wish I had fought.
Stood up for him.
I wish I'd fucking on the playground. I wish I got suspended multiple times for punching somebody in the face, even if I was out there alone, to be more protective. And I genuinely in my heart regret that.
I remember specifically from junior high, there was two brothers, and then there was another kid that people would throw money at him and he would dance. And it's like, I just remember laughing. I'm sure I laughed at it at some point. And the brothers, people would entice them to start fighting each other. And I remember not doing anything about it. Like I said, Nate, the same as you, where it's just you just kind of oh, you're there, and you're just laughing and you're just not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
It is regretful.
But that's the thing about this movie is that whole scene with the "Have you seen my wiener" and that whole thing. It's not meant to be funny, and it's not funny in the movie, but that shows Mary's protectiveness of her brother, and that's what
makes her lead her to Ted, right?
And it shows Ted. Yeah, Ted is the guy, that we wish we were.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so that's what showed her oh my God, this Ted guy, he's got a good heart because he stood up for my brother who he doesn't even know. Right. And so it's not meant to be funny, and I think I like the fact they make you feel, oh my gosh, he stood up for him.
Well, you feel you feel a sense of dread for Warren too when you think he's going to get beat up or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think that's all. I guess maybe my overarching point here is I think it's useful to think a little bit about the contours of this beyond just sort of it either was completely unacceptable or you guys are all being too sensitive, right? There's lots of nuance to this, even looking backwards and maybe even look at things that might get made more recently, in the face of some of it. It just seems to me it's a hard conversation. It's a hard thing to think and talk about sometimes because it does feel uncomfortable, right? Not even just because you're worried somebody's going to cancel you, but because you feel kind of conflicted and uncomfortable and a little self-conscious about it. You know?
And there's things that I think some people get sensitive about, nowadays. I'm you don't need to get too sensitive about that. But it's if you think about somebody who's mentally disabled, you would hope nowadays that those kids aren't getting picked on at schools. You would hope that we're beyond that there's protections or that they're protected.
Have you seen the new 21 Jump Street? Have you guys seen that?
Oh yeah, when they go back and they're just being hella just
they're just being so early 90s mean kids, and the other kids are whoa, bro.
What the fuck's wrong with
we
you?
don't say that. What are you saying, dude?
Yeah. And that's I think a little more that's the version of it, right? That you kind of want to go and put back on some of it, where you're oh no, they're really trying to do that, and, they're not quite. All right, what else you guys got for the director?
My question was the idea of, does a gross out comedy need to have heart? Does it need to have some heart at the bottom of it?
So Kingpin,
100%.
Does Kingpin have heart? Because that is the gross out of gross out comedies,
it is,
right?
And that's the thing. And it was, so they went PG-13 with Dumb and Dumber, and then to Kingpin, and then this was their first R. So this is their first hard R, and
wow, Kingpin was.
But Kingpin was fucking gross.
Kingpin's PG-13.
It's so good and so funny, but it's fucking gross.
But there's some heart in it. I mean,
where's the heart? I guess I don't remember.
Dennis Quaid. Is that the heart?
Well,
no. Randy Quaid.
Randy Quaid.
Oh, Randy.
No, just the whole fact that, you know, he had this promising career. His dad was like so proud of him and all that stuff. And then he let him down because he ended up getting, you know, caught up with Roy McCracken. And so there's that whole, it's like the whole arc of him kind of redeeming himself and becoming a good person, because after he loses his hand, he turns into a total piece of shit.
Yeah.
So there's heart to it, but it's just not the same. It's not a romantic.
Certainly not romantic.
Yeah.
So this is what I'll say. The reason that movies like Something About Mary and 40-Year-Old Virgin and American Pie and gross out comedies, right? The reason that they can get super popular is because they have that element of the feels or the, you know, the kind of feel good heart that they have to them. If you don't have that, you get a movie, I hate to pick on Tom Green, but you get a movie like Freddy Got Fingered, where you're just like, what the fuck is this movie? Like, it's just constant
Dumb and Dumber doesn't really, I mean, would you say Dumb and Dumber has heart?
I would say Dumb and Dumber has heart.
I mean, it has
for
the friendship side.
Yeah.
But like
between Harry and Lloyd.
Yeah.
But I also think it doesn't hold up as well.
I don't see that.
I mean,
as like
in the sense
heart,
that's not
in the sense that we're talking about.
I mean,
as
even
far
like
as-
Ace Ventura, you go back and watch Ace Ventura. Like,
that's a great example.
Yeah,
of
it's
one
like,
that-
it's just like stupid. You know what I mean? There's
here's-
nothing that makes you feel anything.
And this is just my perspective, but I feel like the Jackass movies, there's a heart to them. Like, as much as they are stupid, that the love those guys have
bro
for each
love
other
is real love.
Like, I feel like there's a heart to it that I appreciate, and that's what kind of like is endearing to me about.
I think you
the
make a
Jackass
good point,
movies.
because you mentioned Kingpin, and I was looking at the ratings, and that one had a much lower rating across the board.
Right.
As much as I love it because it's just funny and stupid,
great.
but it's definitely, I would definitely rank it third if we were ranking these three movies.
Right.
You know, it would be the third of the three.
You need to care a little bit about the characters
Yeah.
for the gross out stuff to really hit.
So I think that's the key, right?
Think about all the posts like American Pie. Like, they did a bunch of spin-offs of.
None of them did shit.
And what's the other one that they did a bunch of spin-offs of?
National Lampoon.
Van
Van Wilder.
Yeah, Van Wilder. So like all of those, it's like when they just go off and just do like shitty. We're gonna do some shock value comedy and stuff. It's like you don't care. It's like okay, funny, haha. But you don't really care about it, so it's not endearing. It doesn't last that much. So
I think that's a good question, Brad. I like that.
Well, I think, and there's those runs, right? Like we're talking about the Dumb and Dumber, Kingpin. There's Something About Mary run, but then I think we talk about that same run with Will Ferrell in the same. I think it's about originality too. I think it's who's the first one to the party. I think there's a lot to. I think that has I think that might have maybe the most to do with a good comedy. I mean, you have to have the heart, you have to have the actors, the chops, but then it's also just being the first one there. Mm-hmm. And then that run with Will Ferrell, where you have Anchorman, Old School, which they're different directors, right?
so.
But it was Old School, Anchorman, and then wasn't there like a third? Well, you have Ricky Bobby, so it was like those. I mean, basically, it during that run, it didn't matter who the director was. It was a Will Ferrell movie,
Right.
So you knew you were watching a Will Ferrell movie, and they were still like original, and they are, you know, some of them are. But Anchorman's Anchorman, Old School is still Old School, and they're classics. There's funny parts to Anchorman, but those got, I feel like, stale. The more he did of those, also there started to be less funny parts in those,
Right.
and so. And then you knew what, you know, the Fairley Brothers went downhill after, you know,
God,
in the
I remember
2000s.
being so excited and going seeing the Jim Carrey one, Me, Myself,
Which
and
actually,
Irene.
there's some
There's some
funny,
really funny parts,
Yeah.
but dude,
Oh yeah,
oh, some of it I was just like, what the fuck is going on? It got off the rails too far. And I like shit that goes off the rails, but
Right.
you know, again, I mean, I hate to keep fucking bringing it back to Tom Green, but like he's just the epitome of.
I thought you were going to bring back to Hereditary, like
Yeah.
off the rail. I love it when something goes off the rail.
I mean, it's almost like in the Fairley or in There's Something About Mary. They're like, oh, we'll have the black stepdad, and then it's like, well, let's just go even further. And Me, Myself, Irene, we're gonna have 3 black
Stepkids or whatever they are,
foster
yeah.
kids, and it's like, yeah, and they just like, they kept trying to go further, and then they do, oh, Stuck on You, like, oh, we'll have 2 people
Siamese twins.
Siamese twins.
That
Like,
was terrible too.
Yeah.
Do you remember seeing the preview for that in the theaters? I remember I saw the preview for Stuck on You and I was like, oh, I'm seeing that.
Shallow Hal.
And it was dog shit.
Oh, Shallow Hal was bad. That was rough.
Okay. To be fair, I like Shallow Hal.
Shallow Hal's not that bad.
Hey.
I like Jack Black. I like Shallow Hal.
Try being a fat guy, okay? Just step into my shoes.
Hey,
okay?
that's legitimate. I mean, fuck.
So here's a question, and I sometimes really wonder, like, who makes choices about certain things that show up, because it's ambiguous, right? So I want to know, is this a director's choice? Is this an actor's choice, or is this in this case, a costume choice? And that is, does Cameron Diaz not wear a bra because the Farrelly brothers chose that?
Cameron Diaz is blessed with nice.
Perky is the word you're looking for.
Perky is the word.
Trying to figure out a way not to like piss my wife off, but she has.
I
she
don't
has,
have a wife. I'll say it.
I'm just gonna say
She has high boobies.
I don't think even your wife could complain about this take.
No, but what I'm saying is that I guess
I
there's,
shouldn't have said even your wife. Your wife's super cool.
There's a certain size
I don't think
of-
your wife is going to complain about.
there's a certain like boobie that doesn't need a bra. Like, I mean, it's going to be where it's supposed to be most of the time, whether you're wearing a bra or not.
But,
right?
but
I think it brings up an interesting question though. Is like I like your idea. Is like, what is it? She came on and she's like, nah, I'm just gonna wear these shirts.
I don't wear bras.
Or was it like, hey, that's where it brings in the whole like creepiness to it. Is like, were they like, yeah, we think maybe you shouldn't wear a bra.
Cameron,
and she's like,
welcome
okay.
welcome to the set. Throw all those bras in the garbage.
but I mean, I say so. To your point, like, there's a lot of women that like could go without bras and look great, right? Like, and my point, and I say this only half seriously because I mean, really, this is an excuse. I usually don't go down this road, but I just couldn't help it. I mean, this is like,
Thanks, Nate.
This movie brings a lot of attention to it.
okay,
I'll say that.
but what it is like she was both way ahead and way behind her time. Because this is the late 90s, okay? So yeah, sure, there were a lot of no bras being worn in the like 70s. And if you look around today, it's a new trend. I mean, just is a fact. Like, you just see lots of young women walking around and they just, they're not rolling with bras. But how many women do you remember in the 90s just like
Rachel Green. You remember Rachel Green from Jennifer Aniston from Friends?
I do.
Very rarely wearing a bra.
100% wrong. She just had her nipples going all the way through the bra. I don't mean to be controversial here. I just think that's a fact.
I dispute that point. I think she was sans bra.
I want listener opinions on that, but
We're all the way through the.
I think we have a social soundbite right there, Brad. Remember that spot right there.
anyway, I'm just but yeah, I mean, the sort of larger point though is like Cameron Diaz in this. I genuinely didn't remember, because I mean, Cameron Diaz wouldn't be one of the actresses that I would be like, oh, she's like one. And I don't think she ever was like one that I thought of as being someone I was just super attracted to. But I look back now in this movie and I'm like, oh man.
No, she was something else in this, and I remembered her from The Mask right before this with Jim Carrey.
Yeah,
and that's when she really got my attention. And I was like, oh my gosh, who is this person? And her role wasn't even that really big in The Mask, but unbelievable. And then I heard this was coming out and heard she was in it, and I was excited. That was one of the things that got me excited.
And she's
about
also
this.
a great actress.
And she's
right?
really
like,
great.
She's such a good comedic actor, and she actually has
100%.
some other roles as I mean, she's actually kind of a dark horse. I mean, we were talking about Sex Tape, right? Dude, she's super fun. She has a lot of funny movies that you don't really think about.
Have you guys seen Vanilla Sky?
I knew you were going to bring that up at some point.
She's fucking great in it.
Who had minute 75?
Zach was going to bring up Vanilla Sky. God damn it!
So, my question to the director, it has to do with her also. So this movie's set in Rhode Island, and I think they said she moved from Minnesota with her family. That's what they said.
That sounds right.
Why is she a 49ers fan?
I have the same question.
Because of Steve Young.
But
Joe Montana.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She's
Because
going
Joe
on about
Montana.
Joe Montana early.
Yeah.
But like, why did they make this? I went deep looking to see if the Farrelly brothers were like Niners fans.
Right.
Nothing.
Minnesota, she could be Notre Dame fan.
Brett, she does mention Notre Dame.
Brett,
she talks.
Minnesota is not anywhere near Notre Dame, dude.
South Bend, Indiana.
Check a map,
It's
bro.
cold.
Minnesota.
It's cold there.
Yeah, they
it's
both-
like Midwest.
They both snow. Yeah.
Let's call our friend David.
I'm not
Anspaugh.
saying. Are you saying University of Minnesota was any great? Like maybe she's like, fuck that. Like Notre Dame's a legit college football team. That's who I'm going to root for.
There's about 20. No, there's not 20. There's about 5 really good football schools between those two.
What year was the Niners' first Super Bowl win?
81.
And when did it start? When does the movie take place?
Well, she's
Because were they trying to flex kind of like
It looked like late
Football
80s,
knowledge?
maybe.
Well, she's talking.
She was
she's
talking about his
Joe
college
Montana.
career, and she's saying he should have been drafted higher.
Right, it's like she was trying
Joe
to talk
Montana
like
was
he
in the
at
NFL,
trying to
so
start like she was trying to talk like he was at the start of his career.
right.
late 80s.
So it's like late 70s is when they should be talking. I think.
Right.
Okay, so they were trying to flex, but they were kind of completely off on the years as far as Montana's rookie year, like getting ready to win his first Super Bowl.
What was Montana's
This
rookie
was
year?
the 80s. No, it
Early
says in the
80s.
He
beginning
didn't
of
win
the
Super Bowl in
movie.
his first year. I thought it was his second.
All right, hold
But
on.
what was his first
80,
year?
Okay, so 82 was the catch. Because
Yeah.
82 was
my
the
mom
catch.
pregnant. Yeah, with me.
So it was the 81 season, 82 Super
Yes.
Bowl.
Yeah, 82 Super Bowl.
Okay, so here's an interesting little factoid. So the flashback is identified as being in 85. That's what they say. It's 85. But they comment here that it was probably originally supposed to be set in like either 1980 or 1979.
Yeah, it makes zero sense if it's 85 because now he's won 2 Super Bowls.
I was going to say he's already won
That's
Super
what I'm
Bowl
saying,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, and they've also like all the wardrobe, the cars, everything is like.
And they
more
could have
appropriate for
just as
1980.
easily. Well, they could have just easily put 82.
Plus, he's driving a big old like Oldsmobile station wagon, and I had that. That was like my parents' car when I was born.
Oh yeah.
So
Well, this brings up a good question because it gets into the whole idea that they wanted to make her a Niners fan because they were going to have her like be in love with Steve Young.
You think it was that one line where she says, "I'm a Niner fan" at the end? That's why they wanted to make her a Niner fan because that's why she doesn't love
That's
Brett
why
Favre?
she's talking about Joe Montana early in the thing.
Right, but I'm saying
The whole plan was to have Steve Young be in the Brett Favre role.
Brett Favre was the third choice.
I
Steve
got
Young,
it.
being a Mormon, once he saw the script and found out what was in it, he's like, "Nah, I can't do this."
He's like, I've been
Well,
married
what's funny
for
is
14
like
years.
then that ruins the thing.
No, I don't think he was
She's
even
like-
married at that time. Like
It
he
just
he
takes
got
that one
married
joke
late.
away.
But yeah, so Steve Young was the initial who it was supposed to be. So that's why she's supposed to be a Niners fan because she ends up dating Steve Young.
Favre was the third choice.
Right, and which that line.
I was gonna say,
Brett
that's-
Favre was a total ad lib. That
that's
was not in the script.
Favre.
Favre. Yeah. So years ago, I saw the commentary. I watched the DVD and listened to the commentary, and they said that was just a total ad lib by Ben Stiller, and they left it in there. They didn't know if it was funny or not, and the audiences, the screener audiences, just freaking flipped out. And that was one of the funniest lines of the
Amazing.
whole thing.
It's good because it means he's seen the name in the newspapers before, but he
Right.
doesn't exactly know who they are. But
What's the thing where like you think you know a line but you say it wrong all the time? Like Luke, you are my father, or I am your father.
Oh,
like,
the,
what is the Mandela
Mandela
effect.
Mandela effect, yeah.
So like I have that with that line because I always say it Favre. I always say it like that, but when I watched it, I was like, oh, he doesn't even say it like that.
Favre.
He says Favre. Yeah, and I always say Brett Favre.
I make
And
him
I
an
think
offer,
I'm quoting that
Make
movie.
him an offer that he can't
Say no to.
or
super hard.
would never even think about.
considered, but just get back
no
to
to.
tomorrow.
speaking of great moments, when
Yeah.
when you first flubbed that line for real,
I-
it
Opening line
I-
of the Godfather pod.
was one of my favorite things.
That was
ever.
amazing.
That did spawn a lot of good jokes, and I did that. I speaking of like this are real personalities. I did that totally like I did not do that on purpose at all.
Right.
And B, that is exactly the kind of shit I would do every time.
Oh, I've driven in cars and heard you sing lyrics to many a song.
Nonsense.
And you bring up some of the most amazing things I've ever heard. I was like, that's what you think that says?
It's too late to jump and jive. It's too late to jump and jive.
Y'all didn't know that whole song was about Greece.
Anyway, okay, all right. What else do you? Anybody got any other director comments, questions? Anything? Anyone?
Officially the longest drinking with the director that we've ever done.
I'm just really kind of like I don't understand what happened to the Farrelly brothers. Like it's like did they think that the world got too PC for them? Do they think like we just kind of lost our edge?
I
Like
don't
what
think so.
happened?
Their
Shit was not funny. I mean, I wasn't even PC at the time, and the shit was not funny.
Well, and it was before. I mean, like they fizzled way before. Like
Right.
there was a rejection of a lot of that kind of comedy, and I mean, some of the stuff they did was rough.
that Matt Damon, Simon.
I really
one,
think Stuck on You
it
was
was
like the
bad.
Well, how about The Ringer with Johnny Knoxville?
I kind of enjoyed that, but
so
that's
I
just
actually
my Johnny
I never
Knoxville
watched
speech.
it, and I,
I
don't
didn't
think
watch it.
I won't. It was a bad time personally for me to watch it. I was like, it was gross. Yeah. Anyway, all right. So that was Drinking with the Director. We are going to be back to you shortly.
Was it just for one night and you never called them back? Or did you club them with a shovel and shoot them in the back? Or take them home to mom and dad and get down on one knee? It's BVK's version of fuck, kill, or marry. We're shagging. Shag, snag, or body bagging.
That's great.
Oh, the talented Scotch Beck.
Some fucking wordplay, bro. You're like Eminem, dude.
Yeah. Oh, straight up.
www.scotchbeck.com. Merch, music, all sorts of good shit.
Nudes.
Nudes.
Merch, music, news.
Yeah, actually, I think that there's one. I think is there one where Scotch is wearing that same like white undershirt tank top that Cameron Diaz wears?
I think so.
On that scene.
Definitely.
That's for his Patreon.
Scott. and
His
Scott.
OnlyFans.
We actually did bring. I don't know if we'll actually do it, but we talked about actually putting BVK merch on my website. So maybe that'll happen.
Hey,
we just have to figure out how to do it, but I'm down.
Okay.
I'm 100% down. I think that's a great idea.
So maybe check my website and see if it's there, and then when you're there, just listen to my music.
Check out his puffy nipples. Okay, so so we're snagging, shagging, body bagging. We're gonna shag first, and I'm gonna go straight over to Nikki. What do you got, Nick?
All right, I'm gonna go back to what we were talking about earlier. Keith David.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna shag that guy. His entire from when he opens the door and
Talking about Mary's dad.
Mary's dad,
Yep.
and from the moment he fucks with him and says he left with his boyfriend Woogie a little bit ago. Woogie's got a sense of humor.
Yeah.
as he's shutting the door, I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, or even just like when he like Ted's just kind of looking around like, and he's like, just doesn't even say anything. What?
when Ted steps back and looks at the address again,
Yeah.
it's like this is obviously the wrong house. Oh,
When
it's so
when
funny.
he goes and him and Warren blows up on him, and then he's like cuddling by Warren. He looks back at him like, you son of a bitch.
the best to me, that got me there is like the bathroom's that way.
Yeah, he doesn't want to hear it. He doesn't want to hear it. And how he sits down like a doctor and he takes his glass off like it's
so
man to
good.
man. Just let me see what's going on here.
What'd you do? Shit yourself or something?
Yeah,
I wish.
Are you yelling at me at my house?
yeah. So
So
just
good.
amazing, just like hitting 100.
Yeah, he's perfect. I mean, and again, talk about there's a few in this movie that are just. I mean, what's his screen time in this movie?
Oh, it's nothing.
4 minutes, 5 minutes.
Is he in it after?
No, he
No,
never comes
that's
back.
not.
Never comes back after that scene. After
just
the
in the
ambulance, he gets in the
musical
ambulance
number.
and he never comes back.
Yeah, there's just so many.
This would have never happened to Woogie. That's another thing he said when they're taking him in the ambulance.
Yeah, there's just so many other small bit parts, and like I said, Ben Stiller, isn't in a lot of this movie. You don't even realize it because there's so many of the people just are swinging hard and just doing so good. Lynn Shay, who plays Magda, is unbelievable. She's so great.
Well, and she was part of the Farrelly brothers. She's been in
Right.
all like
Kingpin and
and she was Dumb and Dumber and everything too.
right.
So my quick question, going back to the scene though, where I mean, obviously he puts the Franks and beans. What is the situation of this house?
I
So
know.
he goes
Where you can
downstairs.
see
She
the-
goes
I know.
upstairs. He goes off to the side. How does this bathroom window happen to look up? Like, is this like a U-shaped house?
Probably
or
had a
what?
courtyard or something.
It's got a portico. So there's it's a
Is this a portico or a you asshole?
right, dude.
He's trying to be Matt Dillon.
A vestibule or a portico.
it's got a portico.
Sajito
So you drive,
Sorry,
Cataínas. So she goes upstairs, walks across the like little bridge over the portico. Am I saying this right?
Maybe.
There's like a courtyard or something. What are we saying?
That her room is above the garage, so the portico.
I legit don't know what a portico is. You guys got
But they look directly across from each
Is
other.
it
So
where
it's like it's got to
they'll
be
plant like a
U-shaped.
tree? It's
No,
like
it's
when I
not.
have
He's
like
kind of looking back a little.
No,
it's an L shape.
Her room is above the garage, so you go up across the portico or across the bridge that's over the portico.
keep saying
I don't
portico.
know what a portico
One
is.
more fucking time.
Say portico again. Say portico again.
You said enough times it'll be true.
I'm gonna look this up.
But is it
I don't know.
portico where they have, like,
I
the
was
tree
confused
going
by
on?
the house situation because it just seemed like she goes upstairs, he goes down to the right, and all of a sudden
That's
he's
just
looking out
asking for
and
trouble.
sees her doing her thing.
Every time I watch this movie,
Never
I
mind.
go
I was wrong about the portico.
surprise. But every time I watch this movie, I just go, okay, don't pull out the baseball. don't pull out the baseball. I never want him. I never want it to happen. And then he goes in the bathroom. I was like, okay, don't look at the birds. You're gonna see him. And then it's like every time
that's how you feel.
Zip up, dude. Like, zip up slowly.
But that's how you feel like watching like episodes of The Office too, right?
Right.
Like it's just like watching a train wreck in slow motion, and you know it's gonna happen, and you love it, but you're like, oh god, it's so uncomfortable.
Can I just say that
I will say
the cop's reaction?
oh god.
Well, the
fucking
cop
kills me.
So again, this
What
brings up
the hell?
this brings up the whole situation in the house. So
How does
if
the
this
cop
is-
get there
If this
in
is the courtyard, if this is the courtyard, why is he popping up in the middle of their courtyard?
In their backyard, pretty much.
In their
Yeah.
backyard. There's a whole lot of things that don't make sense. I know it's silly, and I appreciate the silliness of it. But when you start, like, I just like my mind always does
the
that.
stuff that is so fucking crazy to me is the things in your brain that you decide are crazy. That you watch fucking those guys in the Strange Brew movie underwater, like fucking drinking beers, and then you're like, I don't understand the house. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
How don't you love this?
But is there any question that you obviously cannot sit underwater in a van? And you can't. That's what's silly about it. But in this
fucking dog
situation, I'm like, why is there a
flies.
cop flying up? Like it just.
Well,
I
yeah,
don't know.
the cop shows up, and then all of a sudden the fire comes in the front door. Like they got there really quick.
Somebody called 911, I guess.
Yeah,
Like, I
well,
don't
they
know.
heard-
Somebody
lady screaming.
I heard a woman screaming.
Hey, am I wrong? But does Mary's mom look like Aunt Becky kind of?
Aunt Becky.
The one that got arrested
Full
for
House.
getting her kid into the rowing school.
Oh, a little bit. Yeah, Marky Post. She was in Night Court. That's what-
Yes,
That's
good
what it
call.
was.
That's a good
Yeah.
Oh my god.
They're redoing Night Court. Did you guys see that?
I saw it. It looks horrible.
Oh my God.
blasphemy. So
It's like that 90s show. My God, I saw that. Have you guys watched the previews from that 90s show yet?
No.
It's not on yet?
No, I don't think so. But oh my God, it looks terrible.
technically, what I was talking about could be referred to as a portico, but what I was really thinking.
He said,
He had images of houses on his phone. I looked over. I was like, what is going
it's a
on?
breezeway. Okay, so you drive through the breezeway. There's
Drive?
You could drive.
Oh,
through
okay. I
it
see. Like, okay.
So it's
no.
it's
They showed the front of the house. It's like plantation style in the front.
It's a carriage house. It's designed so you can drive up to a side door, and then there's a breezeway over the top. Shut up, Nick.
You sound like Matt
They
Dillon.
showed the front of the house. There's no
right now.
fucking hole in the middle of the house at the very front.
That's you didn't see that part.
There's an alleyway in the back.
Yeah, you go around back. There's a carriage road.
Nate,
right?
when you're looking
by
at a
the
house,
portico.
you don't want to like look at it. Like, you take it in its totalitarian state.
Totalitarianism.
Would you call this a portico? Is it more of a breezeway?
But you are right, Zach. My mind sometimes just like when I'm watching a movie,
I feel like you fixate on stuff sometimes.
about
and you're
random
like,
shit.
yeah, you're like, I don't believe this at all. And I'm like, Brad, you like the best of times. Like, how can you talk shit on this?
I 100%. Yeah, exactly. Nick will punch
bite
you in
your
the face.
tongue.
All right. So are we still just?
So I'll shag.
Go for it.
Okay, I'm gonna shag the clean the pipes advice. Because cleaning the
That's
pipes,
good or bad advice?
it's great advice.
That's terrible advice.
You've never cleaned the pipes before a big date?
I like to clean the pipe. Never mind. We'll talk about this. We'll talk about this off the
I'd
air.
say
I've got
the
to.
proper procedure though is clean the pipes, shower, then
Correct.
Shit, shower. No, shit, jerk, shower, shave.
I'd say you just clean. I'd say jerk, shit, shower.
Isn't just a twofer, and you just clean the pipes in the shower.
Or you could
Okay,
jerk
yeah.
while
Yeah, you do that
while you're shitting.
Little auto blumpkin.
Little shit jerk.
You get the wrong poop, dude. That's
The
like,
shirk, a quick shirk.
I'm shirking. Hand me the Mervin's fucking bra and panty ad. I'm shirking.
a lot of pages though in that Mervin's catalog.
That Mervin's California
Wish
fucking
maybe
bra
the
and
wish
panty
list,
ad.
you know, in December.
That is a perfect example of the year of this movie, though. The fact that he has to find some like ads.
Yeah.
There's no like, I'm gonna get my phone out real quick and just see whatever the
Right.
fuck I want
Like
to
when
see.
you watched it with your son, was he like, "What? This is unrealistic. Why is he looking at those weird panty ads?"
We didn't have a lot.
doesn't he
Of,
get
we,
his
didn't, we
iPhone
didn't
out?
have a lot of dad-son discussion during the jerk-off scene.
It's kind of a long jerk off scene.
just kinda-
could have been like, "Will, what do you feel about this?"
We just kept it kind of quiet.
So anyway, my whole point is, you
Should
know,
have talked about porticos.
Son, you see, there's a portico.
but it's true because, like, you know, you do it and then it does clear your mind and it makes you not thinking about that quite as much. And I think that's decent advice. And I'd never thought about it until he mentioned it. and it's legit. There's something to it. Your head gets clear after you blow your load. And
but my response is, do you really want a clear head, right? I mean, you're on a date. Don't you want to go in, like doing your best, like,
but you're thinking like a chick, and they dig that.
Yeah, but I feel like you blow your load. You blow your load before the date, and then you get on the date, and you're like, yeah, I'm not that into this. I'd rather just eat Cheetos and take a shit.
That way, see, but that way you're with the right girl. Because if you still want to hang out with her, then you know you're still in.
This sounds like some real friend zone shit to me.
That's true. I'm
just
following.
saying,
I'm following.
There's something,
You ask him to come over and hang out in your breezeway.
There's a bathroom up above my breezeway if you need a change or anything.
I can fix your dress strap for you.
Yeah.
All right, what are you shagging, Brad?
My shag, if I'm stepping on anybody here, man, Matt Dillon puts on a tour de force here. For somebody who before, I mean, he had a lot of roles. He was obviously in a lot of big important stuff, kind of growing up. Platoon, he's a crazy person in that, and it's just like he in this movie.
His best role, Wild Things.
Well, what's crazy is that I think both this and Wild Things were in the same year. Like I think they were like either back to back or very close to each other. So he puts on two great performances.
He was like Bo Jackson.
He's also great in the sneaky movie called Beautiful Girls that I love.
Okay, yeah, you've talked about that.
That's around that same time.
But in this movie, he is perfect for this role. The perfect scummy, slimy,
smarmy, scummy. Dude.
Just
the mustache is a perfect touch.
The fucking veneers he puts on after a while.
And for somebody who hadn't done a lot of comedy to this point, his comic timing is just perfect. Great.
So good.
Absolutely great. So many of his lines are just perfect. I really loved everything about Matt Dillon in this movie. Like he made it for me. Like Ben Stiller's great. Cameron Diaz is great, but Matt Dillon is why I kept watching this movie.
He's the rare guy that has like zero redeeming qualities that I still think is funny. Like there's nothing about him that is like in any way redeeming, but I still think he's pretty funny most of the movie.
Dude, and even like when Tucker's like, your idea of courting is, blowing farts in her face. And he's like, you were following us. Oh, so good, dude.
Oh, Zach, what are you shagging?
Dude, I just not to put too fine a point on it. Fucking Cameron Diaz, like she's freaking really great. She's a great manic pixie dream girl. She's fucking super fun. I think that she has a huge like kind of contagious grin. Like her freaking smile is just like takes up her whole face.
She's also got a great like kind of not quite snorty but like silly laugh.
When she is laughing or smiling, it's super contagious.
It's very endearing.
The scene where she sees him for the first time again and she like kind of recognizes him, that smile.
She's got a big goofy grin.
And her eyes like
it's just like, oh my God, she's so happy to see him. And you just like, I wish that was me that she was smiling. You know what I'm saying?
And you buy it like you could have felt very forced. Like there's no way she's so awesome. There's no way she's really into Ben Stiller, or Ben Stiller's character. But like she kind of sells it with like expressions and body languages in a way that you really kind of buy it, and you're not supposed to. I'm not supposed to be believing this, but you totally do. Like she does a really great subtle job of like selling that part of the relationship.
Yeah. And I guess the reason why I'm shagging and not snagging is just because like I feel like she sort of fizzles. Like I don't know, like not in the movie necessarily, but like Cameron Diaz, like I mean she's married to a fucking guy from Good Charlotte now. Like what the fuck is happening in the universe? I mean, you know what I mean? Like
that's the measure. It's not like
but that's what I'm saying. Career. Like she kind of fizzled out, and I thought she was really great, and I thought she's really great in this and in a couple other things, and then she kind of doesn't do much.
Are we not going to talk again about Vanilla Sky? Or
I love her in Vanilla Sky, but it's a small role, and she's overshadowed by the Penelope Cruz. So
the fact that we're talking about someone who gets older and like you're like, you kind of fizzle out.
She's still very pretty.
I want to say, have you guys seen like Madonna's whole thing now? Like how she's like back Instagramming herself, like sexy photos, and she's like hanging out with like just
like
random
a
like party kids,
boyfriend.
she's like hanging out with these like 30 and 20-year-olds like partying and stuff. I'm just like, I mean, I guess you do you, but it's just really, really, really awkward.
Well, it's only because she's a woman, because Hugh Hefner was doing that shit for 80 years and everybody was cool with it.
Nobody
thought Hugh Hefner was awkward, did they?
The women that he was living with did.
All right, but I want to pause for a second on some like Cameron Diaz, like the run that she had over a stretch, and it went further than you remember. So Something About Mary and Very Bad Things are in the same year.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I liked her in Very Bad Things, actually.
The next year is Being John Malkovich.
Oh yeah, very different role.
She's weird and
Great though. Like okay, any Given Sunday is also the next year.
Yeah,
very good.
Okay, then she does like Charlie's Angels.
I like her in Charlie's Angels. I think I really liked both Charlie's Angels movies.
Vanilla Sky is in 2001. The Sweetest Thing, which like if you are at all a romantic comedy, it's kind of a raunchy like women's point of view romantic comedy kind of raunchy one. She's really good in that. Kind of a side like a supporting role.
I forgot she was in Shrek. You're right. I take it back.
Oh,
She
Shrek.
fucking killed it for a long time.
Gangs of New York.
Gangs of New York, which
She's kind of the shitty part of Gangs in New
her
York. I love that movie.
accent's
but
not great in that.
Games in New York.
The Holiday, which is like a favorite of a lot of people, especially for a Christmas movie. What Happens in Vegas, which is not great, but like she's kind of cool in it.
You're reaching on a lot of these.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Like I mean, like is Bad Teacher. I'm not saying these were great, but like she's
so
still
where
like
does
making
she
funny
end up
movies.
married to fucking Benji from Good Charlotte? Like
It
that's
sounds like
part
someone.
where-
It sounds like someone.
That's the
who's
part where
married
you
to
lose
good
me,
children.
dude. Yeah.
All right, I'm just saying, like
He's probably picking the roles.
I mean, she hasn't had a serious role for a minute. Like I think she had Annie in 2014, Sex Tape in 2014. So I don't know what she's up to, but she's definitely like she had a good run that went for most of 20 years.
The Counselor.
That was a garbage movie. And weird and disturbing. And, and she did weird things on a windshield.
Nope.
I don't know. Anyway, okay. So I'm going to shag Woogie.
As an actor or as a character?
No, I'm going to shag the combination of the two.
Okay.
So it's a really well conceived character, right? Like I love the and he's in it more than we remember. Like
Chris Elliott.
Chris Elliott.
Chris Elliott. So
Cabin Boy.
I'm following. I'm going to the next avenue after you. So.
okay, well, so I love Woogie. I like the everything from the name Woogie Woganowski. Like I used to call people Woogie Woganowski just kind of to be fun. Like I just like it was just so I love the name. I like the whole concept. I like the like weirdness that like he's supposed to be this stud, but then he ends up being Chris Elliott. You know, like I like it like.
I heard he runs the 40 and like fucking he's like a stud football player, right? Or something.
He's gonna go model in Europe.
Yeah. He slowly gets these freaking hives and he's like itching them throughout.
Which was a Chris Elliott. He's the one who recommended that.
It's just he's such a like good, steady, funny, like he's in it just enough to be present, not so much that he gets overdone, kind of like we were talking about, but he's in it more, right? Like he's probably got 15 minutes of screen time.
It didn't hit as hard as I remember it hitting, but the pimple on the eye thing is really funny. When he's like, "You really sit on your fucking eye."
Whitehead on your eyebrow.
Yeah, like I remember thinking that was so funny. It didn't hit me as hard this time though.
Well, and I had forgotten about the whole part where like you feel like, oh, is he gonna like sexually assault her?
Right.
But
And
he
he
just
wants
goes for the shoes. He's just cradling those shoes.
Yeah, I'm not leaving until I get something to remember you by.
Yeah, it's like it's creepy for a second. You're like, oh wait, he's going after the shoes.
So I remember, like again, thinking back, I never had a clue that it was him the whole time. There's a big reveal at the end that it's him, right? And so there's one line that they sneak by you, and every time I hear it now, it's such a clever, sneaky line at the very beginning when he and Ted are hanging out, having cigars. He has his wife go make cookies. And Ted's like, "Man, this is great, man. This is what I want." And he says, "Each day is better than the next," which means he's miserable. He's not happy.
Oh.
So today is
Each
better
day
than tomorrow.
is better than the next.
I'm so confused right now.
He's basically
is the
saying,
Oh shit!
each day is better than the
It
next.
sounds like a nice line,
Right.
but it's actually admitting that shit.
That he's not happy.
And then at the end, he's like,
Every day's
if you
getting-
like my wife and get so much, you can take him. You know,
right,
like he's-
right.
Well, and there's another thing
Oh,
when
I get it. Each day is better than the next.
he comes walking out and he kind of like does this like weird little twist, is it because she's standing over there. You don't really notice it unless you like. Obviously, you know that he's the guy.
Right.
When he walks out, she's off to the left. He almost starts to turn to the left, and he does this quick little turn to the right and just starts walking down the street.
Right.
Yeah.
Because she was there, and so it's like you know that she knows.
Yeah, she would recognize him.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it's just a little sneaky little thing. Like the whole time he's thinking about her, and you're like, well, was he friends with Ted because he knows, and somehow he's gonna get back with Mary somehow through Ted. So it's like this whole weird thing that you don't think about till you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna snag. Everybody shagged, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah. So my snag is Chris Elliott. And this is personal to me because my dad and I used to watch. I think it was on Fox. It was Get a Life. It was his show.
Oh, it was so good.
And it's funny because he comes across as one of those guys that like you would get super annoyed by, like kind of like a Harlan Williams types. But he's actually his show was really funny. His dad just hated him. His dad was such a dick to him, and he was like kind of like a Tom Greenish a little bit. He's kind of like a almost like precursor Tom Green. And like he's got these annoying like childlike things that he does and stuff, but his dad hates him and is always yelling at him. And it was a funny show. Chris Elliott has been in a lot of stuff. He's great in Groundhog Day. He's great in just a lot of things, that little bit parts. Anytime you gave him kind of like a little bit bigger thing, I think what was his movie he
Cabin
had?
Boy.
Cabin Boy. It's
a little rough.
It's kind of stupid, but
I hate those fancy laughs.
Letterman.
David Letterman.
But what about him in Schitt's?
yeah.
What about him in Schitt's Creek?
These pipes are cool.
and then that's what I'm saying. So then all of a sudden he has this resurgence in Schitt's Creek.
He's great in
and
Schitt's Creek.
And okay, I will say this: he was my least favorite part at the very beginning. But then they tone it down a little bit, and then he starts to grow on you as he starts to become more of a character, because he was a little over the top in the
Right.
beginning of Schitt's Creek, and I was like, oh, this is.
You know what's
Chris Elliott.
interesting is I barely started Schitt's Creek, and I didn't like him. He's one of the reasons why I didn't stick with it.
Oh,
I swear to
he
God.
gets better.
You should stick with it.
That's what I've been told.
It's a
and I just
great
haven't done it
show.
yet.
He tones down and
Okay.
he becomes more of a character.
and he becomes a lot more likable.
Okay.
Right.
Like you know,
Perfect. That was literally the thing, because I keep thinking about everybody's talking about Schitt's Creek, and it's like I tried watching it, and I didn't like him. I was like, ugh, and it bugged me.
Get through the
he-
first half of the first season.
I'll get
and
through
you'll
it.
be in.
Okay.
Yes, and then you start to get into some really good stuff. But yeah, so it's been cool to see him have just this wild long career for somebody he started off as kind of a small time comedian, and people liked him, and he got his own show on Fox, and then he's in there's something about Mary, these little quirky bit parts. Love Chris Elliott. He's always got a place in my heart for sure.
What you shagging? I'm snagging.
I'll-
What you snagging?
I'm going to snag, I mentioned it earlier, but Lynn Shay is Magda. She's so good. And just her in this and Kingpin. And if you ever see her without any of these crazy outfits and this makeup, she's, a beautiful woman. And, well,
I was
older
just saying,
woman,
like
but
I've seen pictures of her, and I'm like, that's
her.
Magda.
Yeah.
Holy crap, she looks completely different.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, every time she's on screen, she just kills me. She's so good. She's so convincing. And I just absolutely love her in this movie. So I'll take her in any film. Zach, what do you got?
I'm looking up Lynn Shay in Dumb What are we snagging?
We're snagging.
So I'm gonna be super duper straightfortard because there's a lot of things that I like. There's a lot of things that I like about this movie. I think it has a sneaky, really good soundtrack, but that's not what I'm gonna snag. I think some of the tracks are fucking great.
And the Farrelly Brothers movies, they actually have some pretty decent soundtracks.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But
Dumb and Dumber is a fun, weird soundtrack.
Yeah.
With a bunch of unknown bands that like have
Totally.
some fun stuff.
But if I am gonna snag something, I fucking am a sucker for Ben Stiller. I really think that people overlook like how
See, you are
good,
jumping on his back.
how good of a
I'm there right now.
Or his lap or whatever.
That's exactly where I'm at.
just how good of like a comedic actor he is, and how good of like when Warren jumps on his back and he just
Slipping a
kind
disc?
of and he just fucking goes down, and like he's got that big mouthful of braces in the beginning, and then later on he's very good. He's very good. I love. Have you guys ever seen? This is a movie that's not very good, but I fucking love it. It's
Heartbreak Kid.
The Heartbreak Kid, dude. I
like
love
that movie,
the
too.
Heartbreak
Sneaky
Kid
good, yeah.
so
Sneaky
much,
rewatch.
and I love him in it, and I watch it all the time. I think it's on Netflix right now. And anyways, we may talk about that later in streaming recommendations. But man, I love Ben Stiller. I love Ben Stiller's dad, fucking Jerry Stiller. Like,
Yeah.
they're just great and really funny and freaking. Have you guys? There's a great picture of Jerry Stiller with Ben Stiller as a little kid on the set of Seinfeld back in the day, and it's just like pretty nuts how. the big kick everybody's on right now about Nepo babies. You know what I mean? Like he's one of the ultimate examples.
He was not a little kid on the set of Seinfeld.
I think he's on the set of Seinfeld, or else Jerry Stiller's just looking like
it's got to be way longer.
I'll show you the picture. It's a great picture. Maybe it's not the set of Seinfeld, but I mean he's a younger man.
So
because he wrote and directed Reality Bites in like 93
that's right.
or 4. You thought that was the set of Seinfeld?
I don't know. Fuck. Seinfeld was back in the day, bro. Not everybody's as old as you, Brad.
Did you see the picture?
What did you say you saw? What was Seinfeld?
No, turn it on. No, it's turn it back on. Show him.
That's what I'm showing him.
Oh,
Yeah, what were you thinking? Who was what?
I thought that was on the set
I
of
thought this was like
Seinfeld.
Jerry Stiller on the set of Seinfeld with his young son. No? No. This picture was taken in 1972 when the first season of fucking Seinfeld came out. Fuck you guys.
Oh shit, we have gone off the rails.
That was good.
Have fun editing this.
Anyways, I don't even know whose turn it was.
It's I'm gonna
Go, Nick.
He's jumping on your back.
I'm gonna list movies, but then he also shows up as extras. He's like amazing at showing up at the smallest little parts.
Bit parts.
So Happy Gilmore,
As the
Happy
he's
Gilmore
amazing.
as the
the works at the
one
old
of
folks home.
yeah, like the head doctor at the old folks home.
Oh yes.
Okay.
What's another extra I got? Okay, so then he shows up. Then he's a big part in Royal Tenenbaums,
Yeah.
which is like maybe arguably one of
serious. Yeah, very serious role.
part. Yep.
Yep.
And then you got Dodgeball, Secret Life of Walter Mitty, which is I really like Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
Never seen
actually.
What about the camp counselor of heavyweights?
Oh, dude, he's amazing.
I've actually never seen.
Oh my god, dude.
But that's the kind of shit I'm talking
Tony
about.
Perkis.
Tony
And then he
Perkins.
shows up at the fight of the newscasters in Anchorman.
Oh.
Yeah, he does. He's
And
the
then
Spanish guy.
And then you got the Zoolander franchise, which whatever after one, fizzled. But then you got sleepers like While We Were Young, and I think we've talked about that.
Yeah.
Rom-com, which
Yeah.
I like, but
I don't know if I'd call it a rom-com, but yeah, it's an indie.
Along
It's
Came
pretty
Polly, which I turn on off and on, which
Dude.
thanks to Philip Seymour Hoffman,
Seymour
I turned
Hoffman
on,
in that
and
fucking
like
movie.
Alec Baldwin.
It gave us the word shart. And that's
Right.
the first time I heard the word shart.
What he's great at is being a central guy and
Cable
he
guy.
doesn't take away.
You
He doesn't subtract from any movie, and he might add to it. He's usually going to add to it. Is he going to add to 10 parts? He might add to 2 or 3 parts.
Yeah.
He's never going to subtract from it, and usually he's surrounded by a good enough cast to make it a great to funny or solid movie.
Well, Cable Guy, you felt so bad for him in Cable Guy
Yeah.
because he's just, Jim Carrey's just going psycho on him.
I
Right.
love Cable Guy.
He's
Tropic Thunder again.
Yeah,
like,
Cable Matthew Broderick.
Was that fucking Matthew Broderick?
He was in
he
Cable
was
Guy.
in. So
He's
he was in.
he's the shitty coworker, right?
No, he's the guy
Brother,
on
Sweet
trial.
Brother, Sweet Brother.
I think he was.
Wait, it's Matthew
Asian.
Broderick? It's Cable. That's not Ben Stiller. Fuck.
Oh
That's
yeah, Matthew Broderick's the main guy.
I just
Brother, Sweet Brother.
superimposed him over fucking Matthew Broderick because they're kind of the same guy.
He
Brad's,
was supposed to. It was
He's
like a
really
take
good
on
in
the,
Ferris Bueller, though.
Brad's doing the acting version of my song lyrics.
Remember when he was in that Godzilla movie?
All right.
Am I wrong that Matthew Broderick and Ben Stiller are kind of similar?
No, yes,
Yeah,
you are.
they're
You
not
couldn't
right.
be more.
They're
wrong
totally
about
both
this.
males.
Allegedly. All
Ben
right,
Stiller way more successful.
All right. Yeah,
Nick,
that's a struggle.
You got it.
No, that's it. Just Ben Stiller, and then that he's great at what he does.
He's a bad motherfucker, dude.
Yeah, and the older he gets, I think the cooler he gets. But he doesn't do it. He's not doing as much. I feel like his maybe IMDb is getting a little bit weaker. But you look at
I got some stuff we're going to talk about during
Okay.
streaming recommendations.
But you look at it as a hell of an
that I'll show you what he's
IMDb.
doing.
So I'm
Okay.
I'm snagging Cameron Diaz, and in this case, I think that the movie is. I don't think it works as well with very many other actresses.
They would have to be so personable. She's so personable.
Yeah,
Just like
and it kind of has like we were talking about the laugh and other things like. She sort of just barely, but does sell the like. I'm kind of a nerdy. Like I'm a really hot chick that is kind of nerdy and doesn't realize quite how hot she is. Like, and I mean, that this is a hard sell always, but like if someone's going to be able to do it, she does it. So I think I don't know that the movie works well without her, and I can't think of that many actresses that do it.
Yeah,
That make
that's
this movie
a struggle.
work.
it has to. Her name's in the title.
Right. There's something about her.
Something about Kate.
Can we think of anybody who would?
So I
fit
was just
for
thinking that she's like a
age group?
special type of hot too, because like I think Jennifer Lawrence could play the part, but I don't think that she's hot enough, and I think she's probably like the hottest girl in the world.
Kate Hudson.
Kate Hudson.
She's too short.
You think Kate Hudson?
It's
makes
Hollywood,
that work?
bro.
You're right. Kate Hudson might make that work.
She just has to be able to have a golf swing because that's Cameron
I was
Diaz.
going to ask.
And what I read is that she had a better swing than the golf pro trying to teach her.
You're stepping all over my body bag right now.
Oh, wow.
Let's go. What are we waiting for?
Cameron Diaz's golf swing is dog shit, and every ball
but
that
it's
she
not.
hits is fake and computer generated, and the ball lands way before the ball would actually land if she was really hitting golf balls. I fucking hate it.
There's no
I hate it
CGI.
so much.
They did not put money into CGI for her golf swing.
The golf
Right?
balls that land in the water that are supposed to be her shots are not her shots. They may have like had a guy throwing golf balls into the water or something, but if you've ever hit a golf ball, those golf balls land in like 3 seconds, and it takes a lot longer than that for a golf ball to land. I had some issues with it.
You're a resident like ultra golfer.
Deep.
This would be me like
Juiced
critiquing
up.
some racing or something like this Formula One dude. Or
Especially when I was watching it, I was like, "What the fuck? Are we supposed to think she's good?" Like, I don't. I didn't buy it. I didn't buy it or like it at all.
I thought it was a swing where you're not supposed to think she's good, but good enough to go and maybe hit some balls.
Okay,
out
well,
of
if that's
range.
what it was, then I see that
That's
she could
how
hit
I
some balls on the
always-
ring. Maybe
She's
she's working on her
working on it.
game. You know what I mean? I mean, she's definitely. I mean, lucky for her, she didn't have her bra on to like get in the way of her fucking swing or anything like that. But I just. I had problems with the fact that I thought I got the message that we were supposed to think she was like a good golfer. And maybe you're right. Maybe they never actually say that she's good. They just say that she wants to go to the golf range and like hit golf balls, which I love that about her. But yeah, it's dog
doesn't
shit. I
sound like
I
you
wasn't
love that
impressed at all. It wasn't good. And if it was better than the golf pro swing, that's the biggest lie that anyone's ever said. Because there's zero chance that any golf pro had a swing that was fucking worse than that.
Yeah, I agree with you.
What are you body bagging, bro?
You know what? This might be controversial, but I think I felt this back when I first watched it, but I definitely felt it this time. Like the load on the ear scene to me is a bridge too far. Like it's just
My wife completely agrees. She's like, this is where the movie loses me. I'm like, what?
And it's like the whole jerking and stuff before, and like he loses the load. It's just the load looks just.
It's like all in his lobe and shit.
It's too much together. I'm like, what's going on? What is in
bro,
his
he's
diet?
super dehydrated.
What is in his diet right now?
It's clear he's not drinking enough water.
That he's got this just gigantic sticky hair gel load. And then the other part I hate is there's not a woman on earth who would not realize that after she slicked her hair back that she has this gigantic loop sitting out of her hair. And you can say, oh, she's married. She just kind of like just goes with the flow. She would just feel it. When you're walking, you would feel your hair moving like, what the fuck is going on?
That bartender would have been looking at it, and she would have saw her looking at it.
Somebody would have noticed this well before she's sitting there having a
Right.
conversation at the bar.
Again, so the things that you decide to
Sorry. So in this movie and in all movies, your suspension of disbelief ends at
come as hair gel.
ended up on the ear and then became gel.
when you take the wires out of the lamp and start shocking the dog back to life.
You're cool
no
with that.
problem there.
All good. When Ben
Positive,
Stiller
negative, but
Stiller's
give me-
dropping like elbow drops on the dog,
All good.
I'm all good. But when it was just like the load didn't look right, and the fact that she has this slicked ass hair,
She would just never.
So
She'd never
it's-
accept that.
I understand the point of it. I understand the point. It's a very hilarious look.
Right.
It just doesn't work for me.
Literally
I'm
like the
that's
cover
just-
of the DVD, like
First
the
to
poster.
the party, bro. That's what I'm saying.
But the thing is, the part that bothers me actually the most about it is right after he finishes and he's looking around and he jerks his head around a bunch of times, it would have flown off his ear.
No, that's the
And that's-
stickiest load ever. He's got super glue loads.
It's so thick,
like an
dude. It's not
icicle.
going anywhere. It was like an icicle.
I'm not gonna.
So,
I'm not gonna,
yeah.
I'm not gonna chase that one. There's a lot of ways to go there.
The load on the ear scene, I body bag it. It's my least favorite part of this movie by like a long shot.
And she wears hair gel in her hair?
Yeah,
It's like-
she has the most nice, like flowing, like cool little hair. And what does she need hair gel
It's
for?
like, I'm out of it.
She just ran out.
All right, Nikki. What are you body bagging?
Welcome back and follow that.
I'm gonna thanks to this pod, I was at a loss of words, but I'm gonna body bag porticos. Not a thing, don't exist.
Porticos absolutely are a thing. They're just not what I described. Possibly. Depends on how many columns there were.
Too late to jump and jive.
They're the Matthew Brodericks of architecture.
That's me. It's on to Zach.
I already went. Fucking
Scotty.
Oh yeah, hate.
I have.
Cameron Tiger Woods Diaz.
I love this. I love this movie so much. I have a few things written down. I'm not sure which one I want to go with. So I'm gonna probably list them all.
Oh boy.
What the fuck's that all about? Oh God, here he goes again. The lip syncing and guitar of Jonathan Richman.
It's on purpose
Okay,
bad.
goddamn, I'm so glad you brought that
It
because
has to be on purpose bad because he's not playing guitar.
Right. Well, I know he's lip syncing, but gosh dang it, did
He's
they
not
tell
even trying.
Did they
Isn't
tell
there a
him to do
time-
the shittiest job
Yes,
ever?
I think they told him to not really play guitar.
Was there a time when he actually
stops playing. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, a couple times.
Right. But Scotch, I'm so glad you brought that up because I actually looked that up yesterday because I was like, I remember this being some musician, somebody famous. I didn't realize who it was. I have no clue like who Jonathan Richman is. I guess he was kind of semi-famous musician. But I was like, I thought maybe they just chose some actor or comedian to play because they obviously don't know how to play a guitar.
Right.
I was also bothered by the fact that at least one time he had no strap on, but he was strap over his shoulder, but he was playing, walking around. I'm like,
I don't know,
what's
man.
happening right now?
There's a lot of problems with it. It's weird, and I get it. Like the whole intro, it's all one shot because they show him, they do the whole thing, and the drummer. I got questions about that too because he's just doing whatever. He's not even touching the drum.
He's barely lifting the.
Yeah. And as a musician, I just wish I didn't notice shit like that, but I do, and that's just the way it is. So that's just something that I've always wondered. Was that an intentional thing for them to make it as absolutely ridiculous as possible?
100%.
bad enough.
100% has to.
It was bad enough it had to be
Right.
intentional.
So another thing is Matt Dillon's reaction to when Tucker was saying he was a murderer. I hated it because he didn't look pissed. He looked like he was like, oh God, he got me. But it was total lies. And he was making that shit up. So he's in the car. He's listening to he's got the thing where he can listen to their conversations, whatever. And Tucker's saying that he's a murderer. And his reactions were just like, ugh.
Well, because the
know?
first time he reacts like he's pounding things, like the first time he's like aggressively angry about it.
Right. That was
So maybe at this point now he's just like, fuck, this guy's going even deeper.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't know. I wanted something like, dude, him actually being pissed that he's like making shit up about him or whatever.
Well, he goes and runs him over after this.
Well, he does
almost, or like
Very true. And then my last thing is sing along credit sequences.
oh,
You don't like that.
I fucking hate it. And
I'm with you on this.
so I knew you'd be with me on this, but that 40-year-old virgin I liked because that's kind of funny and silly and whatever. I
hate
for some
that
reason
too.
I liked it, but this one I hate. There's other ones. There's Bend It Like Beckham. They do a stupid one. There's a few other movies where they have these like fun little, hey, look at us. We're
it's not
having a good time."
original.
It's dumb.
It's
I
not
like
fun.
outtakes. They give me outtakes.
Yeah, I'll take all the outtakes.
100%.
And I bet there was a lot from this movie. A lot of funny outtakes.
didn't Mallrats uses "Build Me Up, Buttercup" as the ending song, like it's the credit song?
No, it's the one from it's the something about a monkey or something.
Oh, Suzanne,
Suzanne.
yeah.
shit, part of our theme song.
Yeah.
all that. Yeah. The Weezer song.
All that I want is
So wait, "Build Me Up, Buttercup"? I think that was in a Kevin Smith movie earlier, but maybe I'm wrong. You know, my brain doesn't function anymore.
bro.
Just- you got
Nothing you
fucking-
say tonight is
You got Ben Stiller
checks
playing
out,
Matthew
so.
Broderick and everything.
Okay,
So I
so
don't even know what's going on to you.
so I bought
Got
this.
that baby batter on the brain.
Does anybody have a Sears catalog? Does anybody have a Sears catalog,
Yeah,
please?
did you clean the pipes before you got on the? Everybody knows you clean the pipes for the pod. Yeah.
I knew Nick was here. I'm going to try to get laid.
All right, so I'm so I semi inadvertently bought the extended cut.
Oh.
So you're body bagging yourself?
I'm body bagging myself again, but I'm body bagging the
Was there
extended
less
cut.
bras?
No, it was like
Oh, more bras.
it was an example of an extended cut where you're like, oh, I see why they cut every one of these scenes. I was like, thanks for showing me how editing and directorial choices are important. Because it was pretty much just all dog shit. Like I was like, God, can I just if I knew exactly how much
Well, what's
Do you
crazy?
know how many minutes it added?
It added, I think, like 13 minutes, 11.
Because it's already
11.
2 hours and 10 minutes long.
Yeah, it's a long movie.
I think that's the extended cut. No.
I don't know. That's what
the original is
Wikipedia
210.
Oh, okay, maybe
It's a long movie.
Then maybe it was even longer. It was not good. So I would say, like, if you're thinking about buying the extended cut, it's not an unrated version where we see more braless.
More side
It's
boob.
Marv's backstory.
Yeah, it's not great.
Marv, right? No, yeah. What?
Nate was looking for
Pizza
more.
delivery boy. His real name.
Norm.
Norm.
Nate was looking for
backstory.
more Franks and Beans. He was hoping there was going to be I need the extended
I
cut.
want.
on that.
I was hoping they were going to show the actual zipping of up. Like the action. Of it.
Oh my Lord! Can you imagine that scene?
What the hell?
Anyway, okay. So that's our. Did we all bag? We all body bagged?
Yep.
That's it.
No more body bags.
We're home.
Crackle, Pluto, HBO, Find Anime on Crunchyroll, Peacock, Hulu, Disney, Netflix, Disney, Sling TV, Showtime, Fubo. What the fuck is Fubo? I'm sure it'll cause a sensation. It's a streaming recommendation.
God damn! How lazy is Scotch Beck? The fact that he can't do like a full. There's something about Mary for all of our parts.
What Scott?
Because
Jesus.
How do you top what the fuck is Fubo?
I'm realizing that that may be the first time Nick's ever heard that.
That's the first time.
Yeah, there's probably a bunch of bumpers that Nick's never heard.
That's amazing.
because he's a dickhead and doesn't listen to his best friend's pods. But that's okay.
He's
Yeah, how could you not listen to the pod?
He's like, I quit the pod. I'm never listening.
I
again."
guarantee Nick's probably listened to more episodes than Nate.
Way more.
No question.
Nick's never listened. I don't think. And Nate's never listened. No, Nate listened to like half of one episode. I think.
I did that one half of it.
I listened to him when I was on.
Ever since you stepped away, you were like, "Fuck those guys."
Fucking narcissist.
I like to think that that's just because it's too painful for him to listen to it anymore.
Hey, we did
How
put
am I
out
supposed to jerk off if I'm not talking?
we did do a greatest hits. You might want to go back to the greatest hits. It's got some funny stuff on it, and some of it's you.
I'm kidding.
Don't listen, dude. There's a lot of episodes where I'm just like, "Fuck Nick. I fucking hate him."
All right.
And then the next one, I feel bad.
Yeah, then I
because
start
he's
crying.
dead. And I feel bad.
Then I start
said,
crying and
"Fuck
talk
him."
about how I really love him so much.
He got,
Miss you, Nick.
he got tridented. And what are you streaming, Scott?
Okay, I'm gonna. When I think Fairley Brothers, that isn't this movie. I'm going back to Kingpin. It's on Paramount Plus. I love it. There's so many great jokes.
Watch it with your kids.
Who are you calling an asshole?
Dude, Bill Murray as Bigger and McCracken. Oh, he's just legendary. He's so good. He's such an asshole. You hate him so much, but it's just so good. Like when they're sitting there at lunch, he's like, "Hey, no, not you. Hey." So good. I love Kingpin so much. So it's on Paramount Plus.
Nice.
So I am going to go with, as I talked about earlier, The Heartbreak Kid. I think it's on Netflix right now. It's so fucking good. Ben Stiller he's just great. And the girl that's his wife is Malin Ackerman, I think.
Yeah.
And man, she's freaking just a really good comedic actress.
Hank Azaria is the boat guy, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Go check that movie out. It hits like this movie. It's definitely a kind of a gross out comedy, and fucking it's really good. The other one that I'm going to recommend, and I've recommended before on the pod, and still none of my friends have watched it, is Ben Stiller directed series. He's not in it at all, but it's Escape at Dannemora. Ben Stiller directs the whole thing, and it's Paul Dano and Benicio del Toro and who's the woman that plays the
Matthew Broderick.
It's the woman that plays in the Tarantino movie with the crazy drug dealer, but Tarantino doesn't direct it. Who's the Jesus.
Patricia Arquette.
Patricia Arquette and
True Romance.
man, it's so good. It's so freaking good, you guys. You
I
gotta
literally
watch
have
it.
never heard you mention
What's
it.
it
I
called?
mentioned it on the pod
He
twice.
mentioned it like
Escape at
long time ago.
Dannemora, and it's a movie. It's a true story about a prison break, and Paul Dano and Benicio del Toro are inmates in a prison, and Patricia Arquette is the prison guard, and they kind of befriend her, and she helps them break out of prison.
Okay.
And
This is a series?
this is a series. I think it's like 8 episodes.
Dude, I'm in on this.
It's
Where can I watch it?
So it was for Showtime, I believe. No one has Showtime, and that's one of the reasons why it's hard to watch.
My dad does.
You might, or your dad, or you might have to buy it for like $1 an episode on Amazon or something. It'll cost you like $8 or whatever it is. Yeah. But check it out; it's fucking great.
Oh, I like that.
Okay, Nikki.
Along Came Polly on Netflix.
Yeah,
talking. I go back to that. My wife and I were looking back for a rewatch rom-com. If we can't think of anything, every once in a while it comes back to that. And again, not for Ben Stiller, but for Philip Seymour Hoffman and Alec Baldwin, who's fucking
I forgot
about
Baldwin. I haven't seen that in so long.
He's amazing in it. And then like puts Philip Seymour Hoffman. He's right behind Philip Seymour Hoffman in that movie. But yeah, Along Came Polly on Netflix.
Philip Seymour
Holy
Hoffman.
shit!
Rain Dance.
So
I like to give him a little spanking.
Wild twist. I just looked it up. Escape at Dannemora is on Fubo.
No, it is not.
I swear to God.
What the fuck is Fubo?
It's on Fubo. It's also on Showtime because that's what it was originally on. But yeah, anyway, sorry guys. Go.
Brad, what do you got?
You know what? We mentioned this at the very beginning of the pod when we were talking about this movie, and I'll say there's 3 movie moments I remember specifically of where like I've been laughing uncontrollably, where it's just like, oh my God, what am I doing here? Like the crowd's going nuts, everybody's loving it. 1 was There's Something About Mary, 2 was Borat, and 3, The Hangover. I went in opening weekend without knowing much about it. There's nothing been spoiled. Like we were just kind of like, fuck, there's this Hangover movie. It looks kind of funny. We went and checked it out. And I mean, obviously we were just dying watching this movie. And then you get to the credits, they start showing the pictures.
The pictures.
And just like, it just kept going. It was laughs for days. And so I'm gonna recommend The Hangover. It's obviously a gross out comedy. It's maybe a little bit less heart, but it's still a fun movie. HBO Max, you can watch all 3 Hangovers. And
I would definitely
Brad,
stop at 2.
So hear me out. So you're the sequels weren't as good, right? The first Hangover was great, sequel's not as good. So they kind of played it out like American Pie-esque, like it's done. They're probably not going to do another one. This is how they make The Hangover successful again. They do a sort of prequel to The Hangover where they show the crazy night that they never show in the first movie, right? Wouldn't that be the greatest fucking... What are you looking at, Brad?
I'm just looking at phones for I hate the buzzing.
Brad, if there's a buzz, Brad looks around like he's like a nun in a classroom.
I thought I was gonna get
ready to whack
with
somebody's
a ruler.
knuckles.
I go to teacher mode for sure.
But dude, don't you think that would be a great fucking movie? I think that's the movie, right?
That's the movie.
If you want to resurrect the Hangover movie franchise, you make the prequel and you show what happened in the crazy night before the first Hangover movie. I mean, because all you see is those Polaroids, right? All that stuff happens and they're kind of pieced back together their night. They should make that movie.
I mean, that might be dog shit, but it makes $100 million. I
think so.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna.
I hate that
Brad
idea. No, I'm really thinking about it. I'm like,
Brad's like
really
so
thinking
mad
about it.
I'm like,
he's mad about the even suggestion.
The guys are way too old, so it's like I hate any movie like this.
So
when
you
they did
do
the
it
Dumb
like
and Dumber,
Wet
with,
Hot American Summer and fucking just do it like kind of ironically, where you just don't mention how old they are.
Again, I love that this is where the suspension of disbelief just stops for Brad.
Them talking about it is enough, though. It's like that's the whole thing. Like you get to create it in your mind of like what actually happened without actually seeing it.
Brad,
like,
we'll ruin anything for $100 million. Okay?
I say we Irishman them to like the different ages, and you have like Zach Galifianakis.
I think
like
say we're making like 3 hours and 45 minutes.
It could be. It could be. I'm talking about
we do
de-aging.
the night in real time. Okay.
12-hour.
Like a handheld camera version.
Yeah.
Blair Witch.
Found footage.
Okay, I'm gonna do Cameron Diaz here, and I'm gonna go. I mentioned it earlier in her run, The Sweetest Thing, which is kind of a sneaky one because it's a little more of it's certainly more of a rom-com, but it's kind of a raunchy one. Like for a rom-com, it's raunchy, and especially because it's much more of a female-centric movie.
Now, does The Sweetest Thing refer to the U2 song, or is it referring to something else?
No, it's the Swedish thing.
The Swedish thing. The Swedish thing. That's not what I thought. That's what the song said.
Is this the movie where they have a aluminum foil duck or something and throw out the window? I saw that in the previews. It looks so stupid.
You're
saying this movie's good.
I like it. I like it.
But you didn't answer. What is The Sweetest Thing? What are they talking about?
I'm pretty sure it's just they like you too.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I don't remember.
I was hoping it was like this. Is like the orgasm, like the sweetest thing. Like
I don't know. There's a specific reference to that. No,
It's
Brett.
a reference to orgasming. That's exactly what it is.
Are you going to scrutinize all the titles of movies? What the fuck's up with him tonight?
Brad has turned into an angry curmudgeon like Nate.
Who can't remember
switched
anything?
places.
Brad's turned into like an 81-year-old.
I actually hate that idea.
Can't remember shit. Hates everything.
I remember hearing that movie title. And I've always wondered what it's about without wanting to watch it.
I don't know, Brad. Go watch it and then tell me. Report back. Swedish thing.
That's a lot of work.
All right.
Watch Godzilla.
Alternate endings up next.
Slow it down a little bit. We didn't like the genre or the way the story went, so we made a rom-com horror or changed the way it ends. Like Kevin's Home Alone traps fucking up his family. Or make everyone a vampire so it ends bloody reshelving. Or an alternate ending.
It's great, dude.
It's like the most baritone Scotch Beck I've heard in a while. I fucking love it.
I love that Home Alone take too.
Dude, that was so great.
Right.
Kevin's family comes home and all the traps just fuck them up instead of the robbers.
That was one of the best ones.
Whose alternate ending was that?
Who came up with that idea?
Zach.
That was
I think.
Zach's.
Sounds right, because I don't remember that.
I think.
All right, I've got two. I'm leading, and both of them involve Magda. Okay.
All right.
I like where this is going.
All right. So the first one
You're gonna say she was wearing too many brows?
no.
Okay.
So here, if I didn't talk about this, but for me, one of the holes in the movie is that Brett Favre shows up and like he seems great, and like her explanation though, like she kind of bails on him, and like she was obviously really in love with him, and then she bails on him because she's a Niners fan. All right. Hear me out. So Favre shows up and like everything seems good. We're all good. And then all of a sudden, like Magda comes back in from getting the mail. Okay. And she opens up an envelope from Brett Favre. And what does it have in it?
A dick pic.
Yep.
That's where my alternate ending was going to be going. So I'm glad you did it for me.
I mean, how do we not have Brett Favre sending dick pics? And she's like disgusted. And she's like, I thought you were cool, Brett, but I'm out. And then she goes down and chases Ted down. So
It had to be a dick pic.
it had to
for
be a
sure.
dick pic. Yeah.
So like I would say the postcard dick pic.
He went down to Kinko's and he's like quietly using the
just put it
copier,
on
and
the
they're like, "Oh
machine.
my god, that's Brett Favre. What do you think? He's probably like in the NFL schedule for next year." He's just fucking dick on the glass.
So the second is also Magda, but so like we're at the point where all the stalkers are in there, and like and Woogie's like they're trying to steal the shoes, and all of a sudden just door blasts open, and it's something about Mary Till Dawn. Magda just rolls in, she's a vampire, and just tears them apart. Right?
Does she lead Ben Stiller?
Yeah, she leaves Ben Stiller because she's a good one.
Okay.
The dog's also a vampire, by the way.
The dog should be the first vampire because he's the only one that dies and then comes back.
That's fair. That's true. That's a good point. That's what I got.
Oh, good shit. And everybody else is quiet, right?
I got nothing.
Dude, if we're alternate ending for this movie, you've got to have the alternate ending where Greg and Mary don't end up together, right? I mean,
Who's Greg?
isn't that his name? Matthew Broderick?
Greg?
God damn it.
It's definitely not Greg.
What's his fucking name?
Ted.
Oh, he's Greg in Fockers, I think. In Fockers,
No,
they
it's
call him
Gaylord.
Greg.
He's Gaylord.
Gaylord.
But he calls him Greg.
No, that's Broderick in that movie.
Oh my God.
Brad's
I'm
fucked this
losing
all
it
up.
right now. I'm losing my fucking mind. In the Fockers?
Yeah, it's Matthew Broderick.
Oh my God. I feel like I'm in a bizarro world right now.
Well, I mean, that's in Meet the Parents. They do it like a Teen Wolf thing, right? It's like,
Thanks for coming to our 100th episode. Bye-bye.
all right. Any other alternate endings?
So we're done. We stopped him at Greg. And you were done with it? Were you done with it?
I don't know.
You were done.
I was just going to say the way you changed the ending of the movie is where she doesn't end up with
Mary
fucking
and Greg aren't together.
with Greg.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she.
Yeah, one of the other
Favre.
one of the other guys that was cut out. I think he was in Nate's uncut version that was made a little extra. They had an extra character named Greg. I have
Guy
no
was
fucking
uncut.
idea.
An uncut guy.
What was his fucking name? Ted was his name.
Ted, yeah.
Lasso.
Christ. There you go. There's the alternate ending.
Ted Lasso comes out left field and she's like, let's go. Fuck all these dudes.
Wow.
Got it. There's no more fitting way for this 100th to go than just absolutely off the
Just
rails.
off the rails.
Just
Everyone's like slightly drunk and fucking.
fitting it. What else you guys got? Anything to part with? You know what we never talked about?
What's
The fact
that?
that we're part of the Deluxe Edition Network.
That's true. That we never did talk about that.
And we love the Deluxe Edition Network, deluxeeditionnetwork.com. Bunch of other great shows. There's a cool new one called History I'd Like to Fuck.
History I'd like to fuck. Hilf. Funny comedian woman, right?
Dude, she's
She's
great.
got a history major and she delves into subjects and she takes requests.
She's super smart
Yeah.
and it's super interesting. I listened to the it was a 2-episode
Donner Party.
the Donner Party one. It's so great. Check it out. Really funny. She's really good. So yeah, that was just added to the network. So welcome.
Did you guys ever watch that show where people got real drunk and then talked about history?
Drunk History.
Drunk History.
Dude, some of those are so fucking funny, dude.
I love that. I love that you just lobbed it up there. You're just like, and everybody's like, yeah, it's called Drunk History.
He's like, you
Do you
ever-
remember that show where they're drunk people?
It was like a race.
And then there's history.
I didn't know what it was called. Drunk history, whatever, dude.
Hosted by Matthew Potter.
what are we doing next week? Well, first of all, another reminder this weekend.
January 21st.
Yep.
Saturday.
You can come
Sábado.
You can come hang with us in the flesh. I mean, we're going to be dressed, but
Like I said,
Like, you can come hang with us.
Southwest miles. A bunch of you lost flights and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
shit, I got these Southwest miles I got to use. Flying to Sacramento Airport. Take a
Hour.
nice quick drive to Oakdale.
Brad will come pick you up.
Stay at Brad's house.
There's plenty of lodging available in Oakdale.
yeah, some nice
At Brad's house. Atlas Circle.
There's like a nice Hampton Inn.
Atlas. Wait,
Atlas Court.
that's where
That's where Brad lives.
No, that was where the Christmas lights were.
I thought that's where you lived. You said that you could
No, I
come
don't
by.
live in Atlas Court.
So yeah,
You can show up out there and see. There's probably some friendly people.
Last Call Brewing, downtown Oakdale tap room. It's going to be a party. I mean, there were a lot of people there last time. There's going to be a lot of people there. Scotch Beck's going to be playing. We might play a little music. We might do some giveaways. We'll have some merch.
16 delicious beers on tap, including BVK IPA, the director's cut.
Walter's the director in this case.
Come on out. Come see us.
What are we doing next week?
I think
We're
Nick's,
gonna draft.
Nick's going to be there?
Are you going to be here next week?
Oh, I'm not coming
Oh
on the
my
pot without
God.
being on the draft and whooping Zach's ass once again.
No, Nick, you don't understand. I will say, this guy right here is like, fuck you, Nick. I'm going to take you out.
That's Scotch. He's
So
Just wait till we start talking about statistics next week. It's going to get deep before we get into the draft. There's a
it.
lot of pressure.
And so I was like all excited. I heard Nick was coming back. I'm like, you know what? Let's go back old school. I'm gonna judge. Nick's gonna draft. So it's gonna be the original 4, and I'm gonna judge like the old
blood
days.
match.
I'm excited.
What are we drafting? We're drafting the most embarrassing movie moment.
Yep.
And that's not embarrassing for us, like a vicarious embarrassment. It's like
Is it going to be like an
You were the character.
embarrassment for Zach the way he'll implode after round 2?
I mean,
Actually, you should see what I've got on my list, and you'll be like, you're going to get last place.
Tune in next week.
Hey, 100 episodes, folks. Again, one more cheers. Like, I don't even know if I got
cheers, guys.
Cheers.
I don't.
Cheers, everybody.
Empty cans.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for
We appreciate all of you.
Yeah, wouldn't be doing it if it weren't for
We
you
started
listeners.
that episode off so strong. Around hour 3, it just kind of fell off the cliff there. It's fucking great.
It's like the extended cut of
the
something about
last few minutes of Rogan podcast where fucking the guest has just been imbibing way too much.
Mary. All right.
Thanks for having me back, guys. Love you guys.
Love you, Nikki.
Bye-bye.
stars.